Warrior Lore. Chapter 3476. Seeing the change in their expressions, Zichun was puzzled. Gaia looked at Zichun and said, Zichun? Zichun nodded and said, Yes. Gaia smiled coldly. I didn't expect to meet you here. I'm sorry, but not only can we not work together, but we will also have to send you out of the Talisman Forest. Feeling the killing intent surging from these two strangers, Zichun said calmly, Is it because of Leizheng and Hongya? Looks like you're not stupid. Gaia and Hongya walked forward, and the Holy Thunder Talisman appeared in their hands. A battle between one-star Sacred Talisman Masters was nothing more than the offensive and defensive Sacred Talismans. The talisman paper shattered, and sacred lightning fell from the sky. A defensive light rose in front of Zichun. The two bolts of Holy Thunder fell one after another, hitting Zichun's defense. The light of the defense kept twisting and shattering. Under his defense, Zichun was unharmed. His defensive talisman had blocked two of his opponent's attacks. Looks like the two of you are only SOSO. Zichun smiled faintly, and the two sacred lightning talismans in front of him shattered. Two sacred lightning appeared and flew toward the two. The world suddenly lit up, and thunder rumbled. Boom, boom. Two screams were heard as the two thunder rumbled. The defense that the two had put up was instantly shattered, and they suffered the feeling of being struck by lightning. The smoke and dust in the sky dissipated. One person turned into green smoke and disappeared, while the other was seriously injured and fell to the ground. He looked at Zichun with eyes full of shock. This was a battle between Sacred Talisman Masters. Although it was a low-level battle, it was very direct. The winner was decided in an instant. Looking at the frightened Gaia, Zichun said, Not bad, you can survive. Murderous intent surged in his eyes. Gaia said in horror, I'm from the Yuri family. You can't kill me. Oh, is it stronger than the Leizheng family? Zichun smiled coldly and walked forward slowly. The Holy Thunder Talisman hovered before him, ready to attack at any moment. Although the Yuri family was a very big family, it was definitely not comparable to Leizheng. The Zichun in front of him even dared to provoke Leizheng's family, let alone his family. However, he was naturally unwilling to be expelled just like that. There were still many opportunities here. At the very least, he had to break through. Looking at the approaching Zichun, Gaia clenched his teeth and seemed to have made up his mind. He said, Don't kill me. I'll tell you a secret. Zichun stopped in his tracks. What's the secret? Tell me. Previously, we received news that Leizheng and Hongya discovered a two-star symbol beast and are currently encircling it. A two-star symbol beast was equivalent to a two-star sacred symbol master. It was not easy for a one-star sacred symbol master to kill one. Zichun said, Is this the secret you were talking about? If I'm not wrong, that guy is still a one-star, right? How is this any different from courting death? Gaia said, Because that two-star talisman beast has the holy talisman technique. Really? Zichun's expression changed. It's absolutely true. Gaia nodded and said, Leizheng and Hongya have already gathered many people. Zichun looked at Gaia and narrowed his eyes. Gaia said in horror, You said you wouldn't kill me. We have no enmity between us. I'm targeting you because of Leizheng and Hongya's orders. Where are they? Zichun asked. Gaia pointed ahead. Over there. If you're fast enough, you'll see them all the way. Zichun flew forward, increasing his speed to the maximum. There was a one-star difference in cultivation level. It was not easy to fight someone of a higher cultivation level. Zichun decided to go and take a look. If there was a chance, he did not mind fishing in troubled waters. As for Gaia, he let him go. After traveling for about 100 miles, Zichun heard a strong fluctuation. He looked over and saw a large number of holy talismans shining at the end of his line of sight. There were offensive Holy Thunder Talismans and defensive Holy Defense Talismans. Zichun stealthily approached. A talisman beast that was more than 10 feet tall and surrounded by two golden halos was roaring at the sky. Countless bolts of holy thunder fell on its body, and terrifying lightning continued to wreak havoc. There were more than 21-star talisman masters around the two-star talisman beast. They were using holy defense talismans and holy thunder talismans at the same time. Everyone, Go all out. As long as we kill it, we'll definitely get the 2-star sacred talisman art. Lei Hongyue, who was standing in the crowd, commanded everyone loudly. Zichun hid behind a high ground and quietly watched the battle in front of him. In this place, both holy talisman masters and talisman beasts were enhanced. Therefore, this 2-star talisman beast was definitely not that simple. Roar! The roar shook the sky, and a powerful fluctuation spread out. Countless holy runes lit up around the 2-star talisman beast, and the lightning energy that fell on it dissipated. In the next moment, a huge beast shadow rushed out from the talisman beast and charged forward. The beast shadow was more than 10 feet tall, and a terrifying aura surged around it. Wherever it passed, all the holy thunder energy was dissipated. The beast shadow went straight for the holy talisman masters. The moment the two sides met, their defenses were broken. Light surged, and the holy talisman masters screamed and disappeared one after another. Seeing that 4 holy talisman masters disappeared and a few were seriously injured, Zichun's expression changed. This 2-star talisman beast was indeed powerful. The gap between 1-star and 2-star sacred talisman master was not small. Everyone, be careful. Put in more effort. It's about to die. On the other side, Lei Hongyue shouted. The others were much more careful, and more holy thunder talismans appeared. In the sky, countless holy thunder talismans shattered. Strong light flashed continuously, and countless thunderbolts rumbled. Many attacks fell on it, and even the 2-star talisman beast could not withstand it for long. Its roar was more painful, and blood splattered from its body. Immediately after, it launched another attack. This time, everyone was prepared and retreated. During this time, they used holy defense talismans one after another. Other than one unlucky guy who disappeared, the others successfully blocked the attack. Lei Hongyue looked at the 2-star talisman beast that was covered in wounds, and a cold, murderous intent flashed in his eyes. This time, I paid a huge price to bring the holy talisman here. I'll use it to end your life. A light flashed in his hand, and a holy thunder talisman appeared. Unlike the previous ones, there were 2 rays of light on the holy thunder talisman in his hand, like 2 light wheels. This was a 2-star holy thunder talisman. Go to hell. With the 2-star holy talisman in his hand, Lei Hongyue smirked and crushed the talisman. A vast power appeared in the sky, causing the space there to distort. The 2-star talisman beast that was chasing after everyone seemed to have sensed the danger and turned around. A bolt of lightning fell from the sky and struck the 2-star talisman beast. Boom! Heaven and earth shook, and a powerful shockwave spread out. Chapter 3477. Thunder rumbled in the sky, forming a terrifying shockwave. The 2-star talisman beast that fell to the ground did not die. Instead, it instantly flew into the sky and fled. When it was far away, it once again used the beast phantom to attack, breaking through the encirclement of the Saint Talisman Masters. Those Saint Talisman Masters either fled or defended. They were in a very sorry state. When the energy dissipated, Lei Hongyue could only see the 2-star talisman beast disappear. Damn it! The talisman's energy must have been greatly depleted when it came here. Otherwise, it would have been able to kill it. Lei Hongyue's expression darkened when he failed to kill the talisman beast with one strike. Chase it. Even if it didn't die, it must have been severely injured. It won't be able to hold on for long. The 2-star talisman beast ran all the way into a huge valley. Although it was formed by countless Saint Talismans, it was now bleeding profusely. Zichun chased it all the way. He originally came here to take a look, but he did not expect that he would actually find an opportunity. In the blink of an eye, he rushed into the valley. However, in the next moment, his figure stopped, because the 2-star talisman beast was staring at him coldly. It had obviously sensed that someone was chasing it. After seeing Zichun, its eyes were filled with coldness. The runes on its body flashed, and another terrifying beast phantom rushed out, heading straight for Zichun. After the beast phantom rushed out, the 2-star talisman beast looked much weaker. Boom! A terrifying aura surged on the beast phantom as it charged directly at Zichun. It exploded in front of him, and the surrounding rocks were all turned into dust and disappeared. Looking at this scene, the two-star talisman beast turned around and left. It thought that the human would not be able to survive. Unexpectedly, at this moment, it heard a calm voice coming from behind. "You want to leave just like that?" The two-star talisman beast turned around and saw a bright light barrier protecting the human. On that light barrier, 3 saint talismans were rotating. The two-star talisman beast was obviously an intelligent creature. It recognized that it was a talisman array. There was fear in its eyes, and it immediately retreated. "Look there." Zichen pointed in the direction above his head. The two-star talisman beast subconsciously looked up. In the sky, there were 3 Saint Thunder talismans. The runes on them had been activated, and the Saint talisman kept rotating, accumulating energy. The two-star talisman beast let out a terrified roar and turned around to flee. Too late. As Zichen's cold voice sounded, the power of the sacred talisman array exploded. Boom! Terrifying lightning descended from the sky, and a powerful thunderous shockwave swept out in all directions. The entire mountain disappeared under the vibrating energy. Zichen stood where he was. Countless clouds of dust swept towards him. The defensive light blocked everything for him. As he walked forward, many shards of holy talisman danced in the billowing dust. The already heavily injured two-star talisman beast had died just like that. Soon, Zichen discovered 2 sparkling crystals in the central area. He quickly went forward and picked up the 2 crystals. One of them was a soul stone, and the other was some kind of soul imprint. There was an image of a beast imprinted on it. Could this be a second-grade Saint Talisman art? Seeing this scene, Zichen's heart skipped a beat. However, he did not immediately investigate. The commotion here was too great. Lei Zheng, Hongyi, and the others should catch up very soon. It was better to leave first. When the dust settled, there were more than 20 blank second-grade Saint Talisman papers scattered on the ground. Zichen did not hesitate to keep them, even though he could not draw a second-grade Saint Talisman yet. The sound of something breaking through the air could be heard. Someone was flying over from afar. Zichen looked back at the sky and turned to leave. "You want to leave? Do you think it's possible?" A cold voice sounded. As the sound of something breaking through the air approached, a group of Saint Talisman masters surrounded them. This used to be a valley, but now it was flat ground. "I was wondering who dared to touch my things. So it's you who doesn't know what's good for you." Lei Hongye flew over. When he saw Zichen, his eyes turned extremely cold. Zichen did not expect them to catch up so quickly. However, they were only 1-star Saint Talisman masters. Zichen was not afraid at all. "I'll give you a chance to apologize. Hand over everything you have and the soul-gathering crystal. If you do, I'll let you continue living here." Lei Hongye looked down at Zichen with an arrogant expression, as if victory was in his hands. Zichen's lips curled into a disdainful smile. "You?" Lei Hongfang's eyes surged with killing intent. "It seems that you're purely asking for death. In that case, I'll fulfill your wish." He waved his hand. In the sky, the Saint Thunder talisman floated out and then shattered one by one. Countless thunderbolts appeared, deafening and descending. Rumble. It was as if thousands of thunderbolts had landed where Zichen was standing. Countless thunderbolts lit up the surroundings and rumbled continuously. Lei Hongfang's eyes were cold and emotionless. Although he knew that Zichen was definitely going to die, he was still unhappy because it would be too easy for him to die like this. A person like him should be tortured to death. The other people's expressions were also incomparably cold. Countless clouds of dust tumbled and lightning flashed occasionally. There would be no accidents because they couldn't think of a reason why Zichen was still alive. A huge, deep pit appeared on the ground, and there were many small holes that had been pierced by the thunderbolts. In the center of the deep pit, there was a light shining. It was a light shield. 3 rotating Saint Talismans floated on the light shield. In the light shield, Zichen stood calmly. Everyone's expressions changed when they saw this scene. Saint Talisman Array? Lei Hongye was also stunned, and his eyes were filled with disbelief. He naturally knew about the Saint Talisman Array, but it was far from something that a 1-star Saint Talisman master should know. Could it be that Zichen had already reached 2-star? Shock quickly spread through them. It's just a tripartite array. Don't panic. We have more people. As long as we attack with all our strength, we can definitely kill him. Lei Hongyes said loudly, he's only 1 star. Don't be deceived. In the defensive light shield, Zichun smiled faintly and said, is that so? Then take a look. What's up there? Everyone subconsciously raised their heads and looked at the sky. There were also 3 Saint Talismans spinning there. Terrifying fluctuations surged in the next moment. The 3 Saint Thunder Talismans shattered, forming 3 terrifying forces that went straight for the trio. The attack of the Saint Talisman array could be combined to form a powerful attack, but it could also be used separately, and the power would be stronger than a single attack. Accompanied by 3 screams, the 3 Saint Talisman Masters left this world. These 1-star Saint Talisman Masters couldn't block the attack of the Saint Talisman array. After killing 3 people, Zichun didn't seem to be exhausted at all. Immediately after, 3 more Saint Talismans appeared to form a Saint Talisman array. Looking at the combined Saint Talisman, everyone's heart trembled. Such a deadly attack would kill them instantly. Run! Someone shouted, and the others turned around without hesitation, putting up their defenses and running away. Do you think you can run? Chapter 3478. Amidst the roar, everyone quickly fled. However, there were still 3 people whose defenses were breached and disappeared from this world. As for the others, they had all fled, including Lei and Hongya. Everyone else had fled. Leaving him behind was a dead end. Where do you think you're going? Zichun shouted and was about to give chase. However, he only chased for a few hundred feet before stopping. His face gradually paled. He originally thought that he wouldn't consume too much of his soul power, but after the series of attacks, his soul power had been greatly exhausted. Previously, he had used 2 defensive talisman arrays against the 2-star talisman beast's attack. The second time, he had used the same method against everyone. The soul was the key to completing the sacred talisman array. While pursuing powerful strength and defense, it also consumed a lot of his soul power. However, this place was extremely mystical. With the help of the soul-gathering crystal, this kind of consumption could be quickly replenished. Thunder rumbled as a 1-star talisman beast fell. Zichun stepped forward and took the empty talisman paper. It had been 5 days since the last battle. Zichun had been going deeper and deeper, and he hadn't encountered anyone else. He had already accumulated a certain amount of sacred thunder talismans on him, enough to sustain a large-scale battle. Moreover, as he continued to use the sacred thunder talisman in battle, Zichun had a certain understanding of the sacred talisman master's methods. At the same time, he had become more adept at using his soul power. Sitting on the mountain peak, Zichun looked at the dense forest in the distance, somewhat absent-minded. In his hand, he held a crystal imprint. This was a sacred talisman art called the Soul of Sacred Thunder. It was a 2nd-grade sacred talisman art. With Zichun's current strength, he still couldn't inscribe it. After using the sacred talisman for the past few days, Zichun didn't plan to advance quickly. This was because he realized that he still had a lot of room for growth at this level. Among them, Zichun could clearly sense the number of sacred talisman arrays superimposed. He had been experimenting for the past few days and finally came to a conclusion. When he used 6 sacred talismans, he could also form a sacred talisman array, and its power was even stronger than the previous 3 talent array. Zichun put away the imprint crystal. Under the effect of the soul-gathering crystal, his consumed soul was once again replenished. 6 divine defense talismans appeared in front of him. The holy defense talisman flew to the top of his head. Zichun used his soul power to control it. At the same time, he drew on the power within it. His soul power was being consumed at an extremely fast rate. He tried again and again. In his sea of consciousness, the soul-gathering crystal kept absorbing the power of the soul between heaven and earth. Zichun's soul, which had been destroyed by the underworld ghost soul refining technique, was growing. If Zichun's sea of consciousness was a wooden bucket, then Zichun's soul was the water in the bucket. It was just that this water was constantly being compressed to the extreme, causing it to evolve and become another kind of substance. Its quantity was only 1/3 of its original. Next, Zichun needed to fill in the 2/3 that had disappeared. When Zichen's soul was fully replenished, his soul would be in its strongest state. Just as Zichen tried again and again, because of the soul-gathering crystal, his soul was constantly being replenished and consumed. The total quantity was also increasing. Another 3 days passed. Zichen became more and more proficient in controlling the 6 divine defense talismans. At the same time, he could persist for longer and longer. When his soul power was exhausted again, the pale-faced Zichen put away the holy defense talisman. At this rate, his holy defense talisman array would evolve again in less than 3 days. While his soul was recovering, Zichen took a look at his storage bag. He found that there were not many holy defense talismans left. During this period of time, he had failed repeatedly and consumed a lot of them. I've stopped here for 10 days. It's time to go deeper. I'll find some talisman beasts and replenish the number of holy defense talismans I have. An hour later, Zichen, whose soul had completely recovered, jumped down from the mountain peak and headed deeper. After walking for dozens of miles, he encountered a 1-star talisman beast. Zichen used 2 holy thunder talismans to kill it. He did not stop and continued deeper. When the sky was completely dark, he killed another 5 1-star talisman beasts. As he went deeper, the talisman beasts he encountered became stronger. In the end, he even needed 3 holy thunder talismans to kill one. At night, Zichen was drawing talismans next to the bonfire. In order to experiment with the holy defense talisman array, he deliberately drew more holy defense talismans this time. Suddenly, Zichen's expression changed and he dodged without hesitation. On his half-completed talisman paper, light rippled like water waves, and the talisman paper shattered. The pitch-black night suddenly brightened. A bolt of holy thunder fell from the sky and landed where Zichen was standing. Boom! With a loud boom, the area was enveloped by holy thunder. The holy thunder's energy raged wildly. Zichen stood in the distance, holding the holy talisman brush in his hand and looking ahead cautiously. A man walked out of the forest. "Who are you?" Zichen stared at the newcomer with a guarded expression. He felt a strong sense of threat from the newcomer. "Are you Zichen?" The man did not answer. Instead, he asked a question. Zichen nodded. "That's right." The man's expression was cold, and his voice was also very cold. "I'm here to send you back." In the next moment, Zichen's pupils constricted as he stared at the newcomer. A holy thunder talisman appeared in front of the man. It was different from the ones he usually used. This holy thunder talisman had 2 light wheels revolving around it. 2-star holy thunder talisman. Obviously, the man was a 2-star holy talisman master. The holy thunder talisman shattered, and a terrifying energy gathered. This was the means of a higher realm. Fortunately, Zichen was already prepared. The moment the world lit up, 3 holy defense talismans flew out from his body and rotated above his head, forming the simplest 3 elements holy talisman array. Buzz! Light surged out from the talismans and formed a defense to protect Zichen. As soon as the defense was formed, the holy thunder struck down. Thunder roared as if there was a thunder dragon tearing at the defense. The young man, who was originally cold, had a look of surprise in his eyes. 3 elements talisman array? In fact, what surprised him was not the talisman array itself, but Zichen's realm. A mere 1-star holy talisman master could form a talisman array. How strong would his soul be? It could be said that in terms of soul strength, the other party was not weaker than him. However, the other party was also a 1-star holy talisman master. This was interesting. This second-grade holy thunder talisman naturally did not achieve the desired effect. The young man sneered. "This is the first time I've seen such an interesting guy. It's just a 3 elements talisman array. It's a must-learn skill for a 2-star holy talisman master." As soon as he finished speaking, the young man's body lit up and the 3 holy thunder talismans flew into the sky. Chapter 3479. Zichen was very nervous when he heard the 2-star sacred talisman master's words. The sacred talisman array was the only thing he could rely on. If his opponent also knew it, then he would not be able to match him at all. However, Zichen's expression gradually relaxed when he saw the 3 saint talismans rising into the air. Because they were 1-star sacred talismans, not 2-star sacred talismans. The 3 1-star sacred talismans flew into the air, formed a seal, and attacked. Lightning drowned Zichun. The roar resounded in all directions, and a powerful wave spread out. The nearby trees were all destroyed, and sawdust filled the sky. Amidst the raging lightning, Zichun flew out. His defense had already been shattered. In terms of attack power, the 2-star Sacred Talisman Master was indeed stronger than him. Trying to escape? The 2-star Sacred Talisman Master sneered. More than 22-star Sacred Thunder Talismans were floating above Zichun's head. The talisman papers were shattered one by one, and lightning bolts fell one after another. Zichun ran wildly, and the defense talisman array was constantly being depleted. This was the Sacred Talisman Master's ability. He could stand still and use countless sacred talismans to blast the enemy into nothingness. Let's see how long you can last. The 2-star Sacred Talisman Master sneered. He did not lack sacred talismans at all. Zichun was running in a sorry state, and he could only run in a very small area. He could not even escape far away. This was suppression. If he could not think of a way to defeat his opponent, he could only be expelled from this place. Zichun was not used to being unable to use his strength. If he had all his strength, he could defeat his opponent with just his fists. Zichun, you are more tenacious than I thought. The 2-star Sacred Spirit laughed. Leizheng Hongye will be very happy if he sees this scene. A memory crystal ball had appeared in his hand, and he was currently recording everything that had happened in it. He said he would torture you to death. Now that you are in such a sorry state, it should be considered torture, right? The 2-star Sacred Talisman Master laughed proudly. Zichun, who was running away, turned around and stopped. His eyes were as cold as a blade. Why did you stop running? The 2-star Saint Talisman Master had a mocking look on his face. If he kept running away, he would only become a laughingstock. He had no choice but to risk it all. 3 divine defense talismans appeared above his head, forming a defensive barrier to block the holy lightning. At the same time, Zichun clenched his teeth and used his powerful spiritual strength to control the 6 offensive holy lightning talismans and send them flying into the sky. 6 directions array glyphs. This was the only way Zichun could defeat the enemy, and there was only one chance. If he didn't succeed, he would be banished and become a laughingstock. He had forced himself into a dead end. At this moment, the Black Soul also became active. The soul-gathering crystal shone brightly as it continued to absorb the soul energy from the heaven and earth. The vortex represented by the dark ghost devouring soul technique also began to revolve at high speed. Lyoha, the 2-star Sacred Talisman Master, was stunned when he saw the 6 sacred thunder talismans in the air. But soon, he began to laugh loudly. You idiot, what great ambition. You actually want to condense the 6 directions symbol array. Zichun ignored him and used his spiritual strength to control the combination of the 6 sacred thunder talismans. Even a 2-star Sacred Talisman Master like me wouldn't dare to try, let alone a 1-star Sacred Talisman Master like you. Who do you think you are? Completing the tripartite symbol array required a powerful spiritual strength. Every time it was used, it would consume a lot of spiritual strength. An ordinary 1-star Sacred Talisman Master's spiritual strength was not enough to support it. Only 2-star Sacred Talisman Masters had such strength, but it was already good enough for a 2-star Sacred Talisman Master to complete the tripartite symbol array. As for the 6-direction symbol array, he did not even dare to think about it. As for Zichun, a 1-star Sacred Talisman Master, in his opinion, it was impossible for him to complete it. I thought you would be able to hold on for a while, but now your spiritual strength is about to be used up. You can only wait for your death. The 2-star Sacred Talisman Master sneered. Victory was already in his hands. The Sacred Talisman Array consumed a lot of spiritual strength. He knew very well that not only would Zichun fail, but he would also lose the ability to fight after that. Is that so? At this moment, Zichun's cold voice suddenly sounded. Aren't you overconfident? The 6 sacred talismans began to spin above his head. The sacred talisman inscriptions within were fully activated and combined together. Zichun's spiritual strength had exceeded his expectations, and completed the fusion for the first time. Hexad symbol array, complete. Looking at the surging ripples in the sky, the two-star sacred talisman master was shocked. He exclaimed in disbelief, "How is this possible? You're just a one-star sacred spirit. How can you control the hexad symbol array?" This was completely inconceivable. He had not expected it to happen just like that. Zichen's face was a little pale. Facing the pressure of life and death, although he had successfully set up the symbol array, it had consumed a lot of spiritual strength. Therefore, he had no time to answer his opponent's question. He moved his spiritual strength. The power of the 6 sacred talismans combined and formed a thick thunderbolt that descended from the sky. Sensing danger, the two-star sacred talisman master's expression changed drastically. He did not hesitate to use the tripartite symbol array. Although they were all formed by one-star sacred defense talismans, this was his strongest defense. However, he did not have the slightest confidence that he could block this attack. Just as the sacred defense formation appeared, another two-star sacred defense talisman appeared in his hand. At this moment, the two-star sacred talisman master was frustrated and regretful. If he could use the two-star sacred defense talisman to form the sacred talisman array, he would definitely be able to block this attack. Thunder boomed. Heaven and earth shook. The lightning formed by the 6 holy thunder talismans was unstoppable. Not only did it instantly obliterate the holy talisman, but it also destroyed a two-star holy defense talisman. The two-star sacred talisman master was struck by the thunderbolt and let out a scream. The terrifying power wreaked havoc on his body. In the next moment, his body disappeared. Zichun had directly expelled him. After that attack, Zichen's spiritual strength was also completely depleted. He did not dare to stay here any longer and quickly flew away. He did not advance. Instead, he retreated. Because the previous commotion was too big, there might be others nearby who would rush over. Just as he was retreating quickly, an old man appeared silently. He glanced at the messy battlefield and then looked in the direction Zichun had fled. Interesting. 3 talents, 6 directions. I wonder if it's possible to complete the 9 superbs. The old man's eyes were filled with anticipation. His figure disappeared in the next moment. Zichun was fleeing as fast as he could to prevent anyone from catching up to him. In his sea of consciousness, the soul-gathering crystal sped up the absorption. Vaguely, a real soul vortex formed around Zichun. Countless spiritual strength from this area was drawn into his sea of consciousness by the soul-gathering crystal. Then, these souls would be condensed by the ghost soul refining technique and replenished into new souls. As Zichen's consumed souls recovered, the number of his souls also increased. At the original battlefield, Leijing Hongya appeared with 5 people. Looking at the messy ground, he could not help but frown. Where is everyone? He looked around but did not see anyone. Zichun was gone. Zhao Yun, who he had found to deal with Zichun, was also gone. He did not believe that Zichun could kill Zhao Yun. As a 2-star sacred talisman master, Zhao Yun also knew the 3 talents talisman array. But where did Zhao Yun go? Find them. We must find them. Chapter 3480. With this retreat, Zichen had retreated far enough, and his soul had also recovered a little. Returning to the mountain peak, Zichen began to recover his soul. In less than an hour, his soul had completely recovered, and this time, Zichen clearly felt that his soul had improved greatly. He started drawing talismans again. The talisman paper glowed, and a light will surged. It was still a 1-star talisman. At the same time, this also meant that Zichun was still a 1-star sacred talisman master. After carving all the remaining blank talisman papers, Zichun began to condense the sacred talisman array. With the successful experience, his soul had strengthened a lot, and the next step was naturally much easier. The 6 directions defense and attack talisman arrays were successfully condensed in one go. However, his soul was too exhausted, and he couldn't fight for a long time. After hesitating for a while, Zichen decided to stay where he was and cultivate at full speed to improve his soul power. Because he had retreated far enough, Leijing, Hongya, and the others couldn't find this place. It was also because of this that they managed to survive. Zichen came here purely to improve, so he stayed where he was for more than half a month. In this half a month, his soul had improved significantly. When he controlled the Six Directions talisman array again, it was no longer as strenuous, and he could use it for a long time. If others knew about this, they would be extremely shocked, because many 2-star sacred talisman masters couldn't do what Zichun did. Next, Zichun began to go deeper at full speed. Although he was still a 1-star sacred talisman master, he wasn't afraid even if he encountered a 2-star sacred talisman master. However, what puzzled him was that according to his soul strength, he should have reached 2-star long ago. Why hadn't he broken through yet? The talisman papers in front of him rolled, and a talisman beast appeared. At this area, all the talisman beasts that appeared were 2-star, and the one in front of him was no exception. Zichun looked ahead, and the talisman papers around him rolled. Roar! The 2-star talisman beast roared, and its body lit up. In the sky, space began to distort, and countless sharp blades fell from the sky, heading straight for Zichun. Buzz! A sacred talisman flew out of Zichun's body, forming a barrier in front of him. Six Directions defensive formation. Countless sharp blades fell from the sky and struck the defensive light barrier, creating ripples. Only the 1-star Zichun could block the attack of a 2-star talisman beast by using this move. Similarly, if he wanted to kill the other party, he would need the Six Directions offensive glyph array. It was said that this was the most basic talisman array for sacred talisman masters. As long as one's soul was strong enough, they could use it. According to the grades of the sacred talisman array, Sankai was Earth grade low grade, while Lyoha was Earth grade mid grade. In the sky, the power of the 6 holy lightning talismans merged into one. A thick bolt of lightning descended from the sky and struck the 2-star talisman beast. With a blood-curdling scream, the talisman beast died. Zichun obtained a new 2-star holy talisman paper and a beast soul crystal. This time, he did not obtain the holy talisman art. After cleaning up the loot, Zichun continued forward. Because of the previous pause, Zichun's spiritual strength had increased by quite a bit. Controlling the Six Directions formation was a piece of cake for him. In the following battles, Zichun encountered all 2-star talisman beasts. If he did not form the sacred talisman array, he could not do anything to them. Along the way, Zichun used up a lot of sacred talismans, but he also obtained a lot of 2-star holy talisman papers. Zichun had not used these sacred talisman papers yet. How is this possible? You're only a 1-star cultivator. How can you master the Hexad talisman array? Leijing Hongye exclaimed. The confidence on his face had long disappeared. This didn't make sense. Otherwise, he wouldn't have lost his composure. Zichun smiled coldly. 6 sacred thunder talismans flew out and formed a talisman array in the sky. Looks like I need to make you understand something. Zichun took a step forward. The defensive talisman array appeared in front of him again. I've been fighting those above my level all this time. The restriction of level is almost useless against me. Now, even if I can only display the power of a single profession like Sacred Talisman Master, I still have to tell you that level is useless against me. The sacred thunder fell from the sky. Even if it was only a first-grade talisman, its power was enough to kill a second-grade talisman master. Thunder rumbled continuously. Amidst the rolling dust, the screams of the 2-star sacred talisman masters could be heard. The battle happened quickly and ended even faster. When the energy waves disappeared, the 8 2-star sacred talisman masters had already left the talisman forest. Zichun, I won't let you go. Leijing Hongye's unwilling voice echoed in the sky. Zichun's face was a little pale. Killing 8 2-star sacred talisman masters in one go and defending against their attacks had consumed a lot of his soul power. Chapter 3481. This time, the feeling of his soul growing was very clear. This made Zichun feel excited. He took out the remaining first-grade sacred talisman paper and started to draw the sacred thunder talisman. In this messy battlefield, he appeared to be completely focused. When the tip of the brush touched the sacred talisman paper, a light was imprinted on it. The first sacred thunder talisman was successfully drawn. A light pattern surged out, illuminating the surroundings. It was still a first-grade talisman, but it was obviously better than before. Then, the second, third, and fifth talismans were drawn. Although they were all first-grade talismans, Zichen's confidence grew. He took a deep breath and used his soul power to control his movements. Buzz. When the sixth sacred talisman was drawn, a ripple surged out and a strong aura surged. 2 light patterns appeared on the sacred talisman. 2-star sacred thunder talisman. At this moment, Zichen's sacred talisman master level had advanced. Zichen's face revealed a joyful expression. He did not expect to be able to reach 2-star so quickly. At this moment, a cold voice suddenly came from the sky. Your soul has advanced. Do you want to take the test? Test? Zichen was stunned and looked up at the sky. There was no one. He asked curiously, what test? Do you want to take the test? The cold voice sounded again like a machine. Zichen didn't know what was going on, but it was obviously not a bad thing. Almost all tests had rewards for success. He immediately nodded and said loudly, take the test. Swoosh. A light descended from the sky and landed on Zichen, enveloping his body. Zichen found that he had arrived at a strange space. There was a table in front of him. There was a pen, ink, and paper on the table that emitted light. Zichen noticed that the 3 items were all second grade. He walked forward and saw a total of 10 blank second-grade sacred talisman papers on the table. First test. 10 second-grade sacred talismans. There were only a total of 10 Saint Talisman papers, and the requirement to succeed in refining all 10 was clearly a 100% success rate. In Zichen's opinion, this test was a little strange. For some new Saint Talisman masters, the difficulty was not low. However, this was not difficult for him, not to mention that he was using the best things. However, for safety's sake, Zichen drew 10 Holy Thunder Talismans in total. From start to finish, he didn't fail even once. They were all successful. Shwa. The object in front of him disappeared along with the second-grade Holy Talisman brush in Zichen's hand. The space in front of him distorted, and a space portal opened. Zichen walked in. There was another space in front of him. 3 second-grade Holy Thunder Talismans were floating in the air. The second test, tripartite Holy Thunder Formation. The indifferent voice sounded again. Zichen immediately released his soul power to control the 3 Holy Lightning Talismans. Although it was his first time controlling a second-grade Holy Lightning Talisman, it was a piece of cake for him because of his powerful soul power. The 3 Holy Lightning Talismans rotated slowly in the air, and their power gradually merged before shattering. A terrifying power gathered and blasted into the void. It was also a tripartite talisman array, but the one activated by the second-grade Holy Thunder Talisman was much more powerful. As the tripartite talisman array disappeared, a second space appeared in front of Zichen. After entering, there were 6 Holy Thunder Talismans that Zichen had to control. This was the Hexad Talisman Array. It was not difficult for Zichen. After the talisman array was activated, another space appeared in front of him. After that, Zichen encountered 9 Holy Thunder Talismans. This Holy Talisman Array was called the 9 Extremes, which also meant the limit. 9 second-star Holy Thunder Talismans floated in front of Zichen. Zichen took a deep breath. This was something he had never tried before, and he had no confidence at all. His surging soul power instantly enveloped the 9 Holy Thunder Talismans. In the next moment, the Holy Thunder Talismans began to vibrate and rotate slowly. Zichen's soul power began to deplete rapidly. He gritted his teeth and persevered. His soul power surged wildly. At the same time, the soul-gathering crystal in his spiritual sea was rapidly absorbing soul power. The ghost-devouring soul technique was also operating at high speed. However, controlling 9 second-star Holy Thunder Talismans required too much soul power. Chi. One of the Holy Thunder Talismans began to vibrate and shatter. The power of the Holy Thunder dissipated. Chi. 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 The remaining Holy Thunder Talismans shattered one after another. He had failed. A look of regret appeared on Zichen's face. As expected, the test is over. The cold voice sounded again. Then the sky began to distort. Light descended from the sky. It was a Holy Talisman brush with 2 light patterns. It was a second-grade holy talisman. Zichun reached out and grabbed the second-grade holy talisman brush. This should be the reward. Then, another second-grade holy talisman fell and was caught by Zichun. Now that he had the holy talisman brush and the second-grade holy talisman paper, Zichun would have no difficulty in drawing the second-grade holy talisman. Just when Zichun thought that these were the only two rewards, a golden light flashed in the sky. Then, a golden round stone fell. Zichun caught it instinctively. The golden round stone looked like the soul stone obtained from killing a talisman beast. However, the soul power it contained was very rich and pure. Zichun looked it up and down before putting it away. He did not know how to use it for the time being. After obtaining these three items, Zichun disappeared from this space. During the previous test, his soul power had been completely depleted, but now it was at its peak. He was slightly stunned. Fortunately, the second-grade Holy Talisman Brush and Holy Talisman Brush were still there. Only then did Zichun know that what had happened earlier was real and not an illusion. Next, he began to draw the 2-star Sacred Thunder Talisman so that he could use it in the next battle. After preparing a number of 2-star Sacred Thunder Talismans, Zichun tried to draw another 2-star Sacred Thunder Talisman. Sacred Thunder Spirit. This was the first time Zichun tried to draw it after he had advanced to the next level. It was also a 2-star Sacred Thunder Talisman, but the Sacred Thunder Spirit was much more difficult than the Sacred Thunder Talisman. With the current strength of Zichun's soul power, he failed more than 20 times before he succeeded. This was simply unbelievable to Zichun. One had to know that he had never wasted so many holy talisman papers when he had entered the sect. Fortunately, after he succeeded, his success rate increased significantly. There were only 1 or 2 failures, but it didn't affect him much. As he continued to go deeper and kill talisman beasts, Zichun obtained more and more soul stones. These soul stones would be of great use in the future. Fighting, drawing talismans, and moving forward. Everything was carried out efficiently and steadily like a machine. Zichun's soul power grew stronger in the process. Chapter 3482. A 2-star talisman beast blocked his path. Zichun immediately threw out a Holy Thunder Talisman. The Holy Thunder Talisman exploded, and the power of lightning struck the 2-star talisman beast. With a loud boom, a deep pit full of cracks appeared on the ground. The talisman beast rolled away, kicking up a cloud of dust. Dozens of feet away, the 2-star talisman beast flipped over and stood up, unharmed. Seeing this, Zichun's expression remained unchanged. A few more Holy Thunder Talismans flew out of his hand, and the terrifying power of lightning struck the talisman beast. Countless runes flickered on the 2-star talisman beast's body, and a powerful attack appeared. Boom, boom, boom. The energy continued to rumble, and terrifying shockwaves wreaked havoc in the surroundings. Dust billowed, and sand and pebbles flew everywhere. Zichun stood in the distance and watched this scene indifferently. In the flying dust, the 2-star talisman beast suddenly leaped out and charged at Zichun. It extended its sharp claws, and runes flickered on its claws. In front of Zichun, a 2-star Holy Defense Talisman shattered. With a bang, the defense formed by the Holy Defense Talisman shattered, and Zichun was sent flying backward. In the face of this 2-star talisman beast, the 2-star Holy Thunder Talisman and Holy Defense Talisman were useless. Zichun, who was retreating, looked at the 2-star talisman beast that continued to charge forward. 3 more Holy Talismans flew out in front of him, and this time, they formed a tripartite talisman array. Boom! Terrifying lightning struck the 2-star talisman beast, and it let out a scream. It fell to the ground, and blood spurted out. It was only injured, but not dead. Then, the tripartite talisman array appeared again and killed the 2-star talisman beast. Looking at the flying pieces of holy talisman paper, Zichun's expression turned solemn. Just as I thought. He had been a 2-star talisman master for half a month. In the beginning, the power of the 2-star Holy Thunder Talisman was still impressive. However, Zichun gradually realized that as he went deeper, the power of the 2-star Holy Thunder Talisman obviously weakened. For example, if Zichun did not use the tripartite talisman array, He would need at least 22-star Holy Thunder Talismans to kill this 2-star Talisman Beast. But killing a 2-star Talisman Beast would at most obtain around 10 blank Talisman Papers. It seemed that the Talisman Beasts here were already immune to the Holy Thunder Talisman. In order to test his guess, he had already tried twice, but the result was the same. Without using a Talisman formation, the difficulty of killing these 2-star Talisman Beasts was not small. Zichun walked forward to pick up the Holy Talisman. He had another idea that he wanted to verify. Right at this moment, he sensed danger approaching. His hair immediately stood on end as he sensed an intense threat. Almost like a conditioned reflex, a Holy Defense Talisman shattered in front of him. Wong. The water-like light blocked in front of him, forming a defense. As soon as the defense appeared, a pitch-black claw appeared in front of Zichun's chest. Under the pressure, the defensive light shield caved in toward his chest. Under the intense pressure, it instantly shattered. Then, its sharp claws moved forward and slapped Zichun on the chest. Zichun's robe was torn and blood splattered. He was sent flying backward. As he flew backward, Zichun saw a black panther appear in front of him. It looked like a shadow panther that he had seen countless times. Its eyes were eerie and cold. At this moment, the two of them looked at each other. There was an obvious hint of surprise in the black panther's eerie eyes. It seemed to be surprised that it did not hit the opponent's head. But it did not stop. It moved forward again like a black light and arrived in front of Zichun in an instant. All of this took a long time to describe, but it actually happened very quickly. When the Black Panther realized that it did not kill the human, it launched another attack. Its speed was very fast and its reaction was swift, but Zichun was even faster. The moment the Holy Defense Talisman shattered, Zichun immediately activated the tripartite Holy Defense Talisman. Or rather, when the first Holy Defense Talisman shattered and formed a defense, Zichun's second defense had already appeared. Tripartite Defense Talisman Formation. The Black Panther's sharp claws, which were as cold as weapons, landed on it. With a loud bang, a powerful force landed on the light shield. Zichun flew backward again. As he flew backward, cracks appeared on the defensive light shield on his body. Crack, crack, crack. Above his head, 3 Holy Defense Talismans exploded and the defense disappeared. Zichun landed 100 feet away and was able to catch his breath. At this moment, there was a deep claw mark on his chest. Blood kept gushing out. He was injured, but fortunately, it was not fatal. The Black Panther landed on the ground and assumed a battle stance. Phew! Looking at his injuries, Zichun exhaled. His expression was very ugly. It was the first time he was injured like this by a 2-star Talisman Beast. Swoosh! The Black Panther attacked again like a black lightning bolt. This time, 6 Holy Defense Talismans appeared above Zichun's head. Hexad Talisman Array. His eyes were cold and sharp as if they contained a blade as he stared at the approaching Black Panther. The Black Panther's sharp claws were like weapons. They hit Zichun again. Bang! There was another loud bang, but this time, the Black Panther was sent flying. Zichun's defense was intact. Looking at the Black Panther rolling out, Zichun's eyes flashed with killing intent. Die! 3 Holy Thunder Talismans appeared above his head. They formed a talisman array and launched an attack. The powerful attack landed on the ground. The Black Panther's figure moved far away, but it avoided the attack. After missing the attack, the Holy Thunder Talisman's power was greatly depleted. It immediately exploded, and the remaining power fell again. This time, the Black Panther stretched out its claws and directly shattered the power of the Holy Thunder. Buzz! In the sky, as the tripartite Holy Thunder array disappeared, another 6 Holy Thunder Talismans soared into the sky and formed a 6 directions array. An even more terrifying power fell from the sky and targeted the Black Panther. The Black Panther dodged continuously like a fish swimming in the water. It actually avoided the attacks. Such a scene made Zichun's expression extremely ugly. The battle had lasted until now, and he had already wasted many holy talismans. Even if he killed the Black Panther, it would be a loss. Looking at the Black Panther's dodging figure, his body lit up again. Another holy talisman appeared. 2 lines of light flashed on it, but it was not the Holy Thunder Talisman. It was the 2-star Holy Thunder talisman that he had obtained previously. Seeing that the Black Panther was dodging at an extremely fast speed, Zichun could only use the second type of Holy Talisman. After the 2-star Holy Talisman appeared, it immediately shattered. A powerful wave surged out from it. In the next moment, a huge beast shadow with lightning flashing around it appeared out of thin air. The beast shadow's body was in an illusory state. It was not its true form, but its eyes were extremely cold as they fell on the Black Panther that was running away. A strange wave spread out, and the beast shadow went straight for the Black Panther. The Black Panther that was running away was locked on by the strange power. It immediately turned around and stared at the beast shadow. A trace of fear appeared in its cold eyes. The beast shadow approached and collided with the Black Panther. Boom! The beast shadow's body exploded, and a huge crater appeared on the ground. It extended for nearly 100 feet. The Black Panther lay in the middle of the crater. Its body was dripping with blood, and it was in a severely injured state. After seeing this scene, Zichun had a deeper understanding of the Holy Thunder Soul. Chapter 3483. This was the first time Zichun had used the soul of the sacred thunder in such a difficult battle. He hadn't expected that this kind of second-grade sacred talisman would have the special effect of locking onto a target. The Black Panther collapsed in the deep pit. It was seriously injured, but it wasn't dead yet. In the sky, the 6-direction array still had its last bit of energy left. Zichun activated it. Lightning fell from the sky and struck the injured Black Panther, killing it. Countless fragmented sacred talismans danced in the sky before turning into specks of light and disappearing. Zichun walked forward. Every time he killed a 2-star talisman beast, he would obtain a soul stone. This time, as expected, there was an additional imprint crystal beside the soul stone. Seeing this imprint, Zichun's eyes immediately lit up. Back when he had obtained the soul of the sacred thunder, he had seen the same imprint. Could this also be a sacred talisman art? Zichun bent down and picked up the imprint first before picking up the soul stone. The other second-grade sacred talisman papers were scattered to the side. There were 12 of them, far less than what he had used in this battle. Probing his soul into the imprint, Zichun's face revealed a look of joy. This was indeed a sacred talisman art. It was related to speed. Gale Talisman. There were no grades, and it could increase one's speed. Recalling the terrifying speed of the Black Panther, Zichun was very interested in this Gale Talisman. He hurriedly collected the sacred talisman papers on the ground and left. Through the previous battle, Zichun had already concluded that the power of the 3 elements sacred talisman array couldn't compare to the soul of the sacred thunder. Therefore, in the following battles, Zichun changed his strategy. Unless it was a very difficult battle where he had to use a talisman array, he would directly use the 6-direction array. Otherwise, he would use the soul of the sacred thunder to resolve all other battles. Just like this, Zichun continued to experiment with the 9 extremes talisman array. This kind of talisman array consumed a lot of soul power, so Zichun hadn't succeeded yet. Along the way, Zichun encountered a few more sacred talisman masters. Fortunately, they didn't fight. In the process of Zichun going deeper, his soul power was also increasing rapidly. To a sacred talisman master, this place was a holy land for cultivation. Furthermore, Zichun had the soul-gathering crystal on him, so his soul had improved very quickly. As the battles continued, the number of spirit stones and 2-star sacred runes he had accumulated was also very impressive. After a battle ended and Zichun cleaned up the battlefield, he found another ink river. This ink river was of the 2nd grade. After collecting some sacred ink, he began to draw talismans by the river. It was still the Holy Thunder Soul. However, after the completion of the sacred rune this time, Zichun clearly felt that the sacred Thunder Soul had undergone new changes. Has it finally materialized? A smile appeared on Zichun's face. It seems that you have reached the peak of rank 2. The soul of Holy Lightning was divided into 2 stages. The former was an illusory beast image, while the latter was a physical entity, so it was naturally more powerful. Along the way, Zichun encountered more and more sacred talisman masters. Everyone was walking in the same direction. That was everyone's destination, and also the final place of opportunity. Not everyone had enmity towards Zichen, only a small portion of them did. And this portion of people who had enmity towards Zichen had deliberately suppressed it after coming here. To be able to come here, everyone had their own strength and means. Moreover, everyone was here for the opportunity, so they naturally did not want to cause too much trouble. Following the crowd, Zichen walked into the depths, or rather, walked out of the talisman forest. Everyone was gathered here. During this time, Zichen saw Renzheng and Qianli, who had deliberately targeted him last time. Qianli also noticed Zichen, and a trace of surprise flashed in his eyes. Then, a cold glint flashed in his eyes. Zichen, come to me. Renzheng waved at Zichen, and Zichen walked toward Renzheng. During this time, many people's gazes fell on him, and some of them revealed a cold glint in their eyes. Zichen ignored these unfriendly gazes and walked to Renzheng. How was your harvest? Renzheng asked with a smile. Not bad, Zichen said. Oh, I haven't congratulated you for breaking through to 2-star. Renzheng, who was smiling and speaking, suddenly transmitted his voice. There has been a rumor going around that you sent the Leizheng family out. Zichen did not know how to respond and fell silent. Whether it's true or not, you have to be careful. Do you see that person, Leizheng Hongyan? He's a 3-star sacred talisman master, and there's a great chance that he will advance to 4-star after entering the talisman forest. Renzheng was still transmitting his words. Zichen secretly glanced in the direction of Leizheng Hongyan. At this moment, Leizheng Hongyan was standing with his hands behind his back, looking at the talisman forest in front. As his back was facing them, he did not notice Zichen's gaze. There were 3 people beside Leizheng Hongyan. One of them seemed to have noticed Zichen's gaze and turned to look at Zichen. A sinister smile appeared on his face, and a murderous intent appeared in his eyes. Zichen immediately retracted his gaze. His name is Zhu De, and he's one of the 3 guards beside Leizheng Hongyan. The 3 of them are also 3-star sacred talisman masters. Leizheng Hongyan alone had 3 3-star sacred talisman masters. Including Zhu De, there were 4 of them. Looking at the talisman palace's side, it seemed that Renzheng and Qianli were both 3-star sacred talisman masters. When you go deeper, other than being careful of the Leizheng family, you also have to be careful of Qianli. I heard that he has been in contact with the Leizheng family these days. Renzheng continued to transmit his voice. The Leizheng family is extremely powerful and can faintly compete with the Talisman Palace. Over the years, they have been constantly poaching people from the Talisman Palace at high prices. I suspect that Qianli has already sided with the Talisman Palace. Zichen remembered all of this in his heart. Do you have enough holy talismans on you? Renzheng suddenly asked. Zichen nodded, indicating that he had enough. He had many holy talismans on him, and all of them were 2-star sacred talismans. After entering the talisman forest, there will be some talisman realms of various sizes. After killing the talisman beasts in the talisman realms, a talisman pool will appear. The talisman pool is filled with soul power, which you can absorb. Then, a soul guiding stone will appear at the bottom of the talisman pool. That's the key to entering the depths. This time, Renzheng did not transmit his voice, but used a normal voice. He deliberately lowered his voice. Without the soul guiding stone, you won't be able to enter the depths and obtain the final great opportunity. Moreover, you have to be careful. After discovering the talisman pool, everyone can enter, but there's only one soul guiding stone. Zichen nodded solemnly. No wonder Renzheng would ask if he had enough holy talismans on him. The talisman forest is very special. It's a place that truly tests sacred talisman masters. Along with the opportunity, there are extremely strict rules. Even if I give you a 3-star sacred talisman, you won't be able to use it due to your cultivation level. Chapter 3484. Renzheng told Zichen everything he knew, and his tone was very kind. This made Zichen a little confused. The 2 of them had never interacted before. Even if Fu Lao mentioned it, he shouldn't be so nice to him. Renzheng seemed to have seen through Zichen's doubts and said, I've heard about you. You're one of the few Saint Talisman Masters who are still willing to trade with the Talisman Hall after interacting with Wan He. Just from this point alone, You're much stronger than the others." Zichun was very surprised. He didn't expect this to be the reason. However, he was also a little ashamed because he didn't only cooperate with the Talisman Hall, he also cooperated with Wan He. Also, because Elder Fu thinks highly of you and thinks highly of you, he repeatedly sent me voice transmissions to ask me to help you if I meet you. Zichun suddenly understood. So that's the reason. The Talisman Pools and the Talisman Forest are also different in size. Therefore, most of the 3-star Saint Talisman Masters will look for the bigger Talisman Pools. You just need to avoid those places. Renjiang was obviously reminding Zichun not to be too greedy. It was good enough to obtain a soul-guiding stone in a small place that others looked down on. Zichun thanked him gratefully. The Talisman Forest was right in front of them. From afar, it looked like a huge forest without any abnormalities. As time passed, the forest in front of them finally changed. The trees disappeared and turned into Saint Talismans, floating in front of them. Countless runes lit up on the Saint Talismans, shining brightly. The Talisman Forest has opened. Let's go. Leijing Hongyan was standing at the front. When the countless Saint Talismans appeared, he entered in a flash. 3 guards followed closely behind him. Before entering, the Saint Talisman Master called Zhu De looked back at Zichun and made a throat-slitting gesture with his hand. Zichun's eyes turned cold as he looked at the other party. Although there are many opportunities inside, remember, you must obtain the soul-guiding stone. It's the key to whether you can convert all the soul stones here into soul energy. After Renjiang finished speaking, his figure flashed and entered. Zichun was only a 2-star. As long as he was careful, there wouldn't be much of a problem. As for the great opportunity inside, it was something that he, as a 3-star, had to fight for. Zichun noticed that the first to enter the Talisman Forest were the 3-star Sacred Talisman Masters. All the 2-star Sacred Talisman Masters were waiting outside. After all the 3-star Sacred Talisman Masters entered, the 2-star Sacred Talisman Masters entered as well. Zichun was also one of the 2-stars. He didn't deliberately stay in front or behind. After entering the Talisman Forest, Zichun found that he was surrounded by Saint Runes. He couldn't see the runes of these Saint Runes clearly, so he couldn't tell what kind of Saint Runes they were. Just as Zichun was carefully dodging these Saint Talismans, he inadvertently discovered that these Saint Talismans were illusory. They didn't have any substance, so he could easily pass through them. He was very surprised. He reached out to touch it, and it passed through in an instant. Then, he no longer had any scruples and flew forward. Countless Saint Talismans came into contact with his body, but it was as if he was in another space. He didn't know how long he had gone, but the people in front of him had disappeared. Those behind him also gradually disappeared. Just as Zichun was feeling surprised, his body came into contact with another Saint Talisman. However, this time, the Saint Talisman wasn't illusory, but real. A ripple was emitted from it, as if a door had suddenly opened. Zichun's body disappeared after coming into contact with the ripple. Another space appeared in Zichun's vision. This space wasn't big, about 200 feet wide. There were more than a dozen 2-star talisman beasts in this space. In addition, there were 2 2-star Sacred Talisman Masters. The 2 of them seemed to be in a state of cooperation. When they saw Zichun suddenly appear here, they cast a cold gaze at him. Either scram or die. A cold voice came from one of them. Zichun looked around. There didn't seem to be a way out. The 2 of them seemed to have noticed this. The one who spoke earlier sneered, "Since there's no way out, then die." As he spoke, several Saint Talismans flew into the sky and shattered. Then, a powerful attack went straight for Zichun. In front of Zichun, a Gale Talisman shattered, and a light of power shrouded his body. His figure flashed, and his speed suddenly increased, avoiding the attack that fell from the sky. At the same time, a Saint Thunder Soul shattered, and a huge beast shadow appeared from it, flying straight for the 2 2-star Sacred Talisman Masters. The 2 of them didn't want to be outdone. They threw out their Saint Talismans one after another, and rumbling sounds continued to ring out. This was a battle between Sacred Talisman Masters. During this time, Zichun relied on his extreme speed to constantly move around, avoiding one attack after another. At the same time, He also threw out Saint Talismans to attack the two of them. Just as the three of them were fiercely fighting each other, terrifying fluctuations continued to spread. Those talisman beasts were unfortunately hit and died one after another. As the energy of the first Gale Talisman disappeared, Zichen estimated that the two of them had used more than 100 two-star Saint Talismans. He had also used 8 Saint Thunder Souls. This was a considerable consumption for Zichen. Fortunately, more than half of the talisman beasts here had been killed. Without hesitation, Zichen used the second Gale Talisman. He continued to dodge while attacking. At the same time, he guided the attacks to other talisman beasts. Under this crazy bombardment, all the talisman beasts here were killed. Only the 3 of them were left. Zichen, who was escaping, suddenly stopped. He looked at the 2 of them and said, "Thank you for your help. I'll send you back now." As his voice fell, 2 brighter Saint Talismans appeared in front of Zichen. Pa, pa. The 2 Saint Talismans shattered at the same time. Immediately after, a tyrannical fluctuation emerged. 2 huge beasts that seemed to be real appeared out of thin air. This was the Saint Thunder Soul in its corporeal state. It was also Zichen's most powerful attack at the moment. The 2 huge beasts surged with countless lightning bolts as they flew toward the 2 two-star Saint Talisman Masters. Their expressions changed drastically. Their bodies lit up and formed the tripartite Saint Talisman array. As the huge beasts approached, a roar sounded. The tripartite Saint Talisman array instantly shattered. 2 mournful screams rang out. When the violent energy dissipated, the 2 Saint Talisman Masters were nowhere to be seen. The bodies of the dead talisman beasts turned into countless specks of light that gathered in the center of this space. Gradually, the specks of light turned into liquid and turned into a pool of water that emitted a bright luster. Within the sparkling pool of water, there was a tyrannical fluctuation of soul energy. Zichen walked forward and sat cross-legged above it. He began to absorb the soul energy. The soul energy entered his sea of consciousness and was swept away by the black vortex. He began to refine it a second time and strengthen his soul. Chapter 3485. Zichen clearly felt that his soul was rapidly improving. A wisp of pleasant surprise appeared on his face. If this continued, he believed that he would soon be able to break through to become a 3-star Saint Talisman Master. After 15 minutes, the soul energy here was completely absorbed. Subsequently, a black soul stone appeared. It was covered in fine runes that enveloped the entire black stone. Zichen picked up the soul stone. He didn't sense any soul energy from it. Obviously, it was only a guide. A ripple appeared in front of him and formed a door. Zichen walked in. The ripple behind him disappeared, and Zichen found himself in the talisman forest again. This caused his eyes to light up, and he was delighted in his heart, because this indicated that there was an extremely great possibility that he would encounter a second talisman realm. In fact, it was just as Zichen had said. After advancing for a distance, he discovered a second talisman realm. This time, his luck was better. There was no one else in it, only a few dozen talisman beasts. After continuously throwing out talismans, the battle that didn't require any technique ended quickly. All the dead talisman beasts transformed into specks of light that gathered in front of him and formed a soul talisman pool. After Zichen refined the soul energy, he didn't obtain a new soul guiding stone. He wasn't dispirited by this. After all, he already had one. He continued forward. During this period, his luck was very good, and he encountered a third talisman realm. He easily finished the battle. After refining 3 talisman pools, Zichen's soul energy improved greatly. Although he still hadn't broken through to become a 3-star Saint Talisman Master, he wasn't far from it. After that, Zichen seemed to have used up all his luck. During this period, he didn't encounter any more talisman realms. Just as he was about to reach the depths, another ripple appeared. Zichen's eyes lit up, and he immediately walked in. Obviously, this was another talisman realm. However, as soon as he entered this talisman realm, Zichen's expression changed drastically. This place was extremely vast, and he couldn't see the end of it. As far as the eye could see, there were more than 500 talisman beasts. There were many talisman beasts and many Saint Talisman Masters here. There were a total of over 20 people in the surroundings, and they were surrounding and killing those talisman beasts. Countless saint runes descended from the sky, transforming into rolling thunderbolts. Zichen actually saw many familiar faces amongst these saint symbol masters. They were the people who had entered the talisman hall with him. Zichen was very surprised. Then, his eyes became incomparably fiery. With so many talisman beasts, once they were all killed, the amount of spiritual energy he would obtain would be unimaginable. Even if everyone split it, it should be enough for him to break through. Unexpectedly, at this moment, Zichen saw Qianli. His expression changed. He didn't expect his luck to be so bad that he would meet the other party here. Qianli, who had just killed a 3-star talisman beast, also noticed Zichen's arrival at this moment. He was startled at first, then a sneer appeared on his face. I was wondering who it was. So it's you. Why are you here to beg for my protection? Sensing the killing intent in his opponent's eyes, Zichen slowly retreated. This guy really wanted to kill him. At this moment, another 3-star talisman beast appeared and charged towards Qianli. Qianli disdainfully glanced at Zichen, then turned around to deal with the 3-star talisman beast. At the same time, an indifferent voice sounded. Go and kill him. A 2-star saint symbol master immediately left the battlefield and chased after Zichen. Zichen quickly fled and disappeared in the blink of an eye. The 2-star saint symbol master quickly chased after him. Since these people wanted to kill him, Zichen naturally wouldn't sit and wait for death. After leaving the battlefield far away, he stood there and waited for his opponent to arrive. I thought you had run away. I didn't expect you to have the guts to stand here. When the person saw Zichen, he was first surprised, then he sneered. Do you think that you are qualified to fight with me just because you have broken through to 2-star? Let me tell you, there is a huge gap between 2-star. Zichen didn't waste time talking nonsense with this guy. At this moment, a crazy plan appeared in his mind. Once this plan succeeded, his harvest this time would be boundless. In order to save Saint Talismans, Zichen used a Saint Thundersoul. A materialized giant beast appeared, roaring and attacking the opponent. There was no surprise. The complacent expression on the opponent's face froze, and the defense he put up in fear was instantly shattered. He died and left this world. After killing the opponent, Zichen began to turn back from another direction, appearing to be very cautious. The battle ahead was still ongoing. Because there were too many talisman beasts, everyone used their full strength. Saint Talismans were madly thrown at the talisman beasts as if they were worthless. Zichen noticed that there were many 3-star talisman beasts. Qianli was really powerful, and he seemed to be very skillful in fighting 3-star talisman beasts. Zichen hid in the distance, quietly watching the battle. He had to admit that everyone who could persist until now had rich battle experience. So even if they encountered so many talisman beasts, they were still able to deal with them calmly. Almost everyone's defense was the tripartite holy defense formation, and only a few used the 6 directions defense formation. However, everyone had a tacit understanding, and no one died during this time. As the battle continued, the number of talisman beasts decreased rapidly. Many people temporarily retreated because they had exhausted too much energy. At this time, Qianli had already killed 3 3-star talisman beasts. His battle strength was really strong. Boom, boom, boom. Qianli did not use the 3-star Sacred Thunder Talisman, but another kind of 3-star Saint Talisman, which could summon terrifying thunderfire like meteorites. A 3-star talisman beast that was hit by the thunderfire would be seriously injured immediately, and Qianli would definitely be able to kill it with the second attack. During this time, dozens of 2-star talisman beasts were swept by the aftermath of the battle and died here. Once Qianli killed all the remaining 3-star talisman beasts, this battle would come to an end. Zichen looked around and saw that the 2-star talisman beasts were decreasing in number. He estimated that it was about time. He did not want to waste any more time, so he appeared in front of everyone and slowly walked forward. Zichen did not hide and even deliberately released his aura, so he was seen by everyone as soon as he appeared. The expressions of the crowd changed. Obviously, Zichen had appeared alive, which meant that the 2-star Saint Talisman Master who went to kill Zichen was already dead. Qianli narrowed his eyes slightly, and a chill emerged. Everyone, don't misunderstand. I have no ill intentions. I also want to join this battle. Chapter 3486. Zichen's attitude was extremely sincere, which made many people slightly stunned. However, they soon understood why Zichen was doing this. After coming here, they could only leave after killing all the talisman beasts. Zichen was obviously worried that he would not be able to leave this place alive. After all, there were other opportunities after leaving this place. We're all on the same side. I'm willing to help everyone for free. Zichen said again, I don't want any reward. I just want to kill these talisman beasts for everyone. No need. Qianli snorted coldly. We're all on the same side. Zichen said again, Are you worthy of being on the same side? Qianli sneered. The killing intent in his eyes was very strong. Zichen said helplessly, In that case, I'll retreat. Don't worry, I have no intention of robbing you. Everyone, continue to kill the talisman beasts. Zichen, who was speaking, retreated backwards as expected. No need. You'd better die. You can return the favor to Brother Hongyan. Qianli waved his hand and said coldly, A few more of you go. Be careful. Immediately, 5 people walked out from the crowd and flew towards Zichen. Seeing this, Zichen's expression changed drastically. He retreated and shouted, Qianli, why are you killing your own people? I've said it before. You're not worthy of being on the same side as me. Qianli's expression was cold. Thunder and fire meteorites fell from the sky and killed another 3-star talisman beast. Looking at the talisman beasts that were getting fewer and fewer, his eyes were burning with passion. If he could refine the soul power here, he might be able to advance to 4-star without having to go deeper. It was possible that he would be the first to advance to 4-star. Just as his heart was burning with passion, he heard a terrifying energy fluctuation coming from behind him. He turned around and saw a Saint Talisman exploding under the feet of the few 2-star Saint Talisman Masters. Then, giant talisman beasts appeared one after another and drowned the 5 2-star Saint Talisman Masters in an instant. Zichen, who had originally fled, reappeared at the end of everyone's line of sight. His expression had also become incomparably cold. Since you're not one of us, don't blame me for being impolite. Zichen charged into the rumbling thunder. During this time, the Holy Talisman's light flickered. When the energy dissipated, the Holy Talisman Masters had already disappeared. After instantly killing 5 2-star Saint Talisman Masters, Zichen looked up at Qianli and asked coldly, How do you feel? Kill him. Qianli's face was filled with anger as he uttered a roar. There's no need to trouble you to send yourselves to your deaths. I'll go there directly. Zichen flew forward, killing intent flashing in his eyes. Arrogant fellow, you're courting death. At this moment, there were still over 20 Saint Symbol Masters present. When they saw Zichen charging over alone, anger surfaced on every single one of their faces. They shouted loudly. Holy talismans appeared one after another and then shattered. Powerful attacks descended from the sky. A talisman appeared in front of Zichen. It was the Gale Talisman. The talisman paper shattered, and a light enveloped his body. Whoosh! Zichen, who was already extremely fast, forcibly increased his speed by a large margin. Those attacks that were about to land on him were instantly thrown to the back of his mind. He was like a bolt of lightning, charging into the crowd. Everyone, enjoy the big gift I've prepared for you. Nearly 100 holy talismans flew out in front of Zichen. There were 2-star holy thunder talismans, but most of them were 2-star holy thunder souls. In fact, with Zichen's current spiritual power, it was impossible for him to activate so many holy talismans to attack. Fortunately, he didn't need to activate them. He only needed to explode them. Boom, 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 boom. These holy talismans shattered in an instant, and a terrifying energy surged out like a violent storm. These energies were carried by Zichen's spiritual power into the sky. Boom. Various energies exploded in the sky. The power of thunder instantly spread out, extending hundreds of feet away. Not only were the nearby Saint Talisman Masters covered, but some talisman beasts that were still alive were also enveloped by this energy. Blood-curdling screams were incessant. Zichun, who was below, had already used the Gale Talisman to escape. As he escaped, he continued to throw out holy talismans. One by one, the holy talismans shattered in the sky and turned into terrifying energies. Countless terrifying energies raged in the sky. This was an indiscriminate attack. Even Zichun was desperately dodging at this moment. This was because this was an uncontrollable energy. With his spiritual power, he still couldn't control it to launch an accurate attack. In another direction, Qianli, who was still killing 3-star talisman beasts, was instantly dumbfounded when he saw this scene. He didn't expect Zichun to dare to do this. One should know that the terrifying indiscriminate energy could not only kill the surrounding people, but it could also kill Zichun himself. Qianli, who originally had the strength to stop Zichun, stood in the distance and let his companions cry for help. "I hope you can give me a little surprise." Qianli, who was originally hesitant, saw an unexpected surprise at this moment. Hence, he turned around and continued to kill those 3-star talisman beasts. He ignored the cries for help coming from all around. Behind him, the explosions continued. Those Saint Talisman Masters who had managed to escape with great difficulty with their defenses were quickly drowned by new terrifying attacks. Boom! A thunder-fire meteorite fell from the sky and hit an injured 3-star talisman beast, killing it instantly. Looking at the last 3-star talisman beast in front of him, Qianli smiled coldly. With a wave of his hand, 2 more thunder-fire sacred talismans appeared and killed the opponent. At this point, all the 3-star talisman beasts were killed by him alone. Then, he looked down at the battlefield in front of him. The battle there was about to come to an end. Zichun continuously threw out talisman papers and rapidly dodged. As he killed those Saint Talisman Masters, he also killed the nearby talisman beasts. Seems like he has the advantage of speed. A disdainful smile flashed across Qianli's eyes as he took in everything. But that's all there is to it. Thunder rumbled and terrifying energy spread. Zichun was like a ray of light as he advanced on the ground. When he could no longer see the enemy, he finally stopped. At this moment, he was sweating profusely and panting. Throwing out hundreds or even thousands of Saint Talismans in succession had consumed a lot of his soul, but the effect was extremely good. When he looked back, he could no longer hear the screams and the terrifying energy. All the Saint Talisman Masters had been forcibly sent out of this world by him. When the energy dissipated, 2 talisman beasts were still alive, but they were also severely injured. Zichun did not kill them immediately. Instead, he looked back at Qianli. The two of them looked at each other. Qianli's eyes were filled with cold killing intent. "Actually, at this time, you shouldn't be thinking of killing me. You should be thanking me." Chapter 3487. Thank you. Qianli stared at Zichun and said coldly, "What qualifications do you have for me to thank you?" "Because you wanted to monopolize the resources here and couldn't find a chance to kill them. Or rather, you don't have the strength to kill so many people at once." Zichun said indifferently, "But I helped you. So, shouldn't you thank me?" "A bunch of nonsense." Qianli's face turned gloomy. "Do you think I'll let you go just because of your nonsense?" Zichun smiled and said, "Whether it's nonsense or not, you know very well in your heart. Speaking of which, when I first came here, I already expected you to do this. There are so many talisman beasts in such a big place. The amount of soul energy gathered here is beyond imagination. I can understand your desire to monopolize it. In fact, I also have the same thoughts." Hearing Zichun's words, Qianli immediately sneered, "Kid, you sneak-attacked so many of your companions in the Talisman Palace, and now you dare to boast about robbing the resources here. It seems that I have to send you out. Let's see how you explain it to everyone then." Zichun said, "It seems that you want to be a hero? Then let's see if you have the strength." As soon as he finished speaking, a light flashed in front of Zichun. 3 sacred Thunder Soul talismans appeared. Boom, boom, boom. The 3 sacred talismans exploded and 3 giant beasts appeared. Each of the giant beasts was surging with a terrifying aura as they charged towards Qianli. Looking at Zichun's attack, Qianli said disdainfully, "I thought you had some unique means. It turns out that you're still counting on it. You're really ignorant. Don't you know how big the gap between 2 stars and 3 stars is? Qianli pointed forward with one hand, and a thunder-fire meteorite fell from the sky and smashed forward. Boom! The thunder-fire meteorite exploded, and a terrifying energy engulfed the 3 giant beasts. As the energy rolled, 2 of the giant beasts exploded. Qianli proudly waited for the 3rd giant beast to explode. Unexpectedly, the giant beast didn't explode. Instead, it broke through the surging thunder-fire energy and immediately tried to devour Qianli. Qianli's expression became cold as he harumphed. A dazzling light appeared in front of him and pierced through the massive beast's body like a sharp sword. You want to deal with me with your mere 2-star attack? The energy in front of him dissipated and Qianli mocked disdainfully. How many years have I been stuck in the 3-star sacred symbol master realm? How can a brat like you, who has just entered 2-star, shake it? Zichen's expression was still calm as he said, "You're celebrating too early." He pointed at the sky and said, "Look over there. It's something good that I left for you." Qianli subconsciously raised his head to look at the sky. When he saw what was in the sky, the disdain on his face disappeared and was replaced by shock. This is the 9 extremes glyph array? In the sky, the 9 saint talismans combined and revolved around the firmament. How can you possibly grasp the 9 extreme symbol array? Qianli cried out involuntarily. He found it hard to believe. The talisman array had a very high requirement for the soul. Even he, a 3-star martial artist, was unable to precisely control the 9 extremes talisman array. Putting aside 2-star holy lightning talismans, even 1-star holy lightning talismans wouldn't be able to withstand the pressure. This was a fundamental difference in the soul. It didn't matter if one's cultivation level was high or low. Now, Zichen, a mere 2-star martial artist, was actually able to control the 9 extremes symbol array. How high was the grade of his soul? Goodbye. Zichen smiled coldly and waved at Qianli. The 9 extremes symbol array glowed. Terrifying energy began to gather and descend. Heaven and earth suddenly lit up as a fused holy lightning descended from the sky. Faced with this extremely fast and terrifying holy lightning, Qianli had no chance to dodge at all. He could only support a 6 directions defensive array. This 6 directions defensive array was formed by 2-star holy defense talismans, not 3-star. As the holy lightning descended, a loud boom resounded throughout heaven and earth. "I won't let you off." Qianli didn't scream. Instead, he left behind such a resentful sentence and disappeared from this world as expected. Fu Lao sat cross-legged. The souls of all the Saint Talisman Masters had entered the Talisman Forest. He was responsible for protecting everyone here. People came out one after another. Their luck wasn't good. After being expelled, they woke up. The people who had woken up couldn't leave for the time being, so they continued to sit cross-legged and began to cultivate. If they wanted to leave, they had to wait for the last person to come out. As time passed, Fu Lao suddenly opened his eyes. There was a puzzled look in his eyes. He sensed that many souls had suddenly returned. The trial is over? According to the usual time, it wasn't time yet. He looked ahead and saw that the Saint Talisman Masters had woken up one by one. However, Fu Lao didn't see joy on their faces. Instead, he saw anger and cold murderous intent. They stood up and cast cold gazes at Zichen, who was at the front. "What's going on?" Fu Lao looked at the strange expressions of the people and said in a deep voice, "Is the trial over, or did something happen?" One of the Saint Talisman Masters who had broken through to 2 stars said, "Hall Master, the trial isn't over yet. It was that damn Zichen who sneak-attacked us." Fu Lao was slightly startled when he heard this. He looked at the people again and said, "You mean, it was Zichen who sent you out?" The other person nodded. The others were filled with righteous indignation. "All of you were sent out by Zichen alone?" Fu Lao asked again. "That's right. That guy is too insidious." The Saint Talisman Master who spoke earlier said, he relied on his speed and kept throwing out Saint Talismans. In just a few moments, 1,000 Saint Talismans exploded. We couldn't dodge it all. Fu Lao looked at the angry people and said again, "You all understand the rules, right?" The people were unwilling. No matter how much they hated Zichen, They couldn't go forward and destroy his body. This was the rule. Hallmaster, don't worry. We won't break the rules. Although Zichun sneak attacked us, he can forget about getting any benefits. We believe that senior brother Qianli will avenge us. The others nodded again. Qianli was the only one who was still inside, and he was a 3-star while Zichun was only a 2-star. It seemed that it wouldn't be a problem to kill Zichun. Fu Lao still wanted to ask what had happened. Why did they fight among themselves? However, before he could ask, he sensed a powerful soul returning. The others also sensed it and turned their heads to look at where the soul had returned. In the next moment, everyone widened their eyes and looked in front of them in shock. The 3-star Qianli stood up. He had actually returned? How was this possible? How could a 2-star Zichun kill him? Zichun, I want you dead. Qianli roared and pounced on Zichun without hesitation. In the huge talisman realm, Zichun, who had killed Qianli, turned around and looked at the other 2 severely injured 2-star talisman beasts. He had used 2 holy thunder talismans to kill them. Chapter 3488. Under the dumbfounded gazes of the crowd, Qianli ignored the rules and charged at Zichun. At this moment, his eyes were red and filled with murderous intent. Buzz! A ripple barrier appeared in front of Qianli. With a bang, Qianli crashed into the barrier. The strong rebounding force sent him flying. What's going on? Fu Lao's cold voice sounded. After landing, Qianli woke up slightly. Seeing Fu Lao's cold gaze, he hurriedly got up and said, Zichun sneaked an attack on me. Fu Lao said in a low voice, Do you know the rules? Qianli lowered his head, but the anger on his face was still burning in his heart. What happened? Fu Lao asked. Why are you here? The others were also puzzled. How could a 3-star Qianli be defeated by Zichun? Qianli said angrily, Zichun sneaked an attack on me with the 9 extreme talisman array when I was unprepared. Hearing Qianli's words, everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. Zichun was only a 2-star. How could he master the 9 extreme talisman array? One had to know that many of them had not even mastered the 6 directions talisman array. Hearing Qianli's words, Fu Lao already knew the reason. If Zichun could master the 9 extreme talisman array, then the strength of his soul would be much stronger than Qianli's. Among Saint Talisman Masters, the soul was the key. The realm was secondary. It seemed that Qianli's sneak attack was also a big exaggeration. Do you still remember the rules? He did not know what had happened, but he obviously did not intend to pursue the matter at this time. His gaze swept across the crowd. The others nodded and returned to their respective jade platforms. However, when their gazes swept past Zichun, they were filled with unwillingness and coldness. If it was not for Zichun this time, they would have gained a lot. However, there were some who looked at the angry Qianli with some schadenfreude. Everyone was a saint spirit. None of them were fools. Qianli did not rescue in time previously because his motive was not pure. He wanted to monopolize the soul power there. Now, even he came out, but didn't obtain anything. Quite a few people felt a bit better. Of course, it was only relatively balanced. The hatred they had for Zichun had never lessened at all. Countless specks of light converged in front of him. This time, Zichun had truly experienced what a symbol pool was. The pure soul liquid had an area of more than 30 meters, and the soul power contained within was several times more than what Zichun had refined before. This was a truly great opportunity. Zichun was pleasantly surprised. He quickly flew into the air above the rune pool. He had practically used up all his holy runes in this battle. Right now, if something unexpected were to happen, Zichun could only be expelled. Therefore, in order to avoid any unexpected problems, he could only quickly refine the soul energy here. Sitting cross-legged above the talisman pool, Zichun's knowledge emitted a powerful devouring force. It was partly due to the effect of the cultivation method, and also the soul-amassing crystal. Pure soul power converged in his knowledge sea. It was like a huge pillar of soul water that entered the spinning black vortex. The vortex formed by the dark ghost soul devouring technique was spinning rapidly. The voice of the dark ghost could be heard from time to time. The souls that were constantly being torn, crushed, and refined were finally ravaged by the vortex and turned into purer soul power. replenishing Zichen's soul. The symbol pool below was shrinking. Zichen's soul was strengthening. A long time passed like this. When the energy in the symbol pool was reduced by half, Zichen's soul realm finally broke through. His soul had become even more powerful, and there was an obvious qualitative change. At this point, Zichen believed that the next Holy Thunder symbol he wrote would definitely be a 3-star one. At this moment, there was still half of the symbol pool left. Zichen did not hesitate to continue refining. Apart from stabilizing his current realm, he could also continue to strengthen his soul. After all, his true realm was 4-star. Only when a Holy Talisman Master reached 4-star could he be considered a qualified Holy Talisman Master. Similarly, only in this way could a Holy Talisman Master become another powerful reliance for Zichen in the upcoming battle. However, at present, such a Holy Talisman Master did not exist in the entire Holy Thunder clan. The remaining half of the energy was quickly devoured by Zichen. This time was the same as the previous times. He did not obtain a new soul guiding stone. However, Zichen's soul had improved by leaps and bounds compared to before. Not only did his soul break through to 3-star, but it also replenished a lot. He was also much closer to 4-star. Zichen's face was filled with joy. He was very happy. This was indeed the cultivation holy land of Holy Talisman Masters. How good would it be if the Holy Thunder clan had a few more places like this? Zichen thought happily in his heart. At this moment, ripples appeared in front of him and formed a door. The door opened and Zichen walked out of the door. After successfully breaking through, he went straight into the depths after appearing. At present, the number of holy talismans on him did not exceed 10, and he could no longer sustain a new battle. Therefore, he had to be very careful to avoid the talisman realms that might appear around him. Therefore, a strange scene occurred. Zichen kept dodging the holy talismans that appeared in front of him, not daring to come into contact with them. In fact, Zichen's worries were completely unnecessary. This was because he had already reached the depths, and he had encountered many talisman realms. His luck was already good enough, and it was impossible for him to encounter them again. After continuing in this way for a while, Zichen walked to the end of the talisman forest. There was a barrier in front of him. As soon as he walked closer, before Zichen could study it carefully, the soul guiding stone that he had obtained earlier flew out of Zichen's storage bag. The soul guiding stone that flew out touched the barrier. In the next moment, ripples appeared on the barrier, and a door that was as wide as a person opened. Zichen walked in smoothly. A bright light appeared in front of him. It was a lightning space. There were more than 20 people standing there. Zichen's gaze quickly swept across the field and saw a familiar person. It was Ranzhang. When he saw Zichen, he was also very surprised. This time, he did not greet Zichen and stood in place without moving. The others did not move either. The guy called Zhu De only glanced at him coldly. The killing intent in his eyes was obvious, but he still stood in place without moving. Buzz. Suddenly, ripples appeared in front of him, and a huge mirror appeared in the sky. Countless lightning rays were reflected in the mirror, as if lightning snakes were swimming rapidly. The space under the mirror was also distorted and changed, and finally, it turned into a huge lightning pool. "The mirror pool has appeared!" Exclamations came from the side, and many people's eyes were filled with excitement. Leijing Hongyan was still standing at the front, and he stepped into the lightning pool. His body did not sink, and he was floating above the lightning pool. Chapter 3489. When he saw the Thunder Fire Qian, Zichen's expression changed quite a bit. He was very surprised. The Thunder Fire Kirin was completely formed by soul power. Its aura was overbearing, and it looked exceptionally ferocious. Why would a Kirin appear? Just as Zichen was filled with doubts, he saw the 3 people behind Lei Zheng and Hongyan also step forward. Just as they stepped onto the thunder pool, a strange phenomenon occurred. A black exotic beast appeared beside Zhu De. A tiger and a leopard appeared beside the other 2 people. The 3 exotic beasts that were completely formed by souls were undoubtedly full of offensive power. Just as Zichen was still trying to figure out what was going on, Ranzhang also walked up to them. Soul power flew out from the top of his head and turned into a dark green tree. The tree was surrounded by lightning. Then, more people stepped forward. When everyone stepped onto the thunder pool, other things would appear. Gradually, Zichen guessed the reason. Those things that appeared were probably souls themselves. The 3-star sacred talisman masters stepped onto the thunder pool one after another. Next were the 2-star sacred talisman masters. There were not many of them, only a dozen or so. Zichen followed behind and looked at the things that were formed by the souls of those people. As one person after another moved forward, it was finally Zichen's turn. The moment he stepped onto the thunder pool, a black soul flew out from the top of his head and turned into a huge black vortex that enveloped Zichen. The black vortex spun continuously, emitting a violent wind and the sound of ghosts crying. Zichen's movement was so great that everyone turned their heads to look at him. Unfortunately, all they could see at this moment was a black vortex. At the same time, Zichen could no longer see the others. He could only see the things formed by the souls of those people. In addition, there was no longer an empty space in front of him. It had become a straight road. Those people from before were blocking this road. If Zichen wanted to move forward, he had to confront these people. At this moment, the very conspicuous Thunder Fire Kirin was at the front of the road. It walked on the road without any obstacles. The other 3 beasts followed behind him. Zichen, this is where the mirror pool is. Everyone manifests their soul roots. Go ahead without hesitation. The deeper you go, the more soul power you will obtain when the soul stones transform. Only those at the very front have a chance of obtaining the soul-gathering crystal. At this moment, Ran Zheng's voice sounded, "Do your best to move forward. Don't care about anyone else." Clearly, when the black vortex had appeared earlier, Renjiang had sensed that Zichen's soul strength had risen to 3 stars. That was why he had issued this warning. Within the vortex, Zichen nodded. As he walked forward, those spiritual beings in front of him coldly stared at him. Their eyes were unkind and filled with boundless killing intent. If Renjiang had not informed him, Zichen might not have competed with the others. After all, he could obtain opportunities no matter where he was. But now, the position determined the size of the opportunity, so he naturally had to give it his all. He moved forward without hesitation. In front of him was a fire serpent. When it saw Zichen approaching, it immediately issued a warning. Zichen did not stop. The fire serpent flew towards Zichen. Buzz. When the fire serpent approached Zichen, it was swallowed by the vortex. Then, there was a miserable cry. When the fire serpent appeared again, it was behind Zichen. Its aura was much weaker. Zichen moved forward again. At this moment, he thought of a very serious problem. He was clearly in the realm of 3 stars. Why did he follow those 2 stars? However, this 3-star was given to him by Zichen. After all, he had not officially written a 3-star Holy Thunder Talisman. Just as Zichen was slightly distracted, 2 more people screamed and appeared behind him. Zichen, who had a strong soul spirit, was naturally able to destroy whoever stood in his way in the 2-star pile. Pushing the 5 people behind him, Zichen didn't know if he was hallucinating, but it seemed like his soul, which was already strong, had grown a little stronger. This time, he carefully sensed that he had collided with another 2 stars. The opponent's soul was instantly swallowed by the black vortex and then squeezed away. During this time, Zichen sensed that a part of the opponent's soul had been forcibly refined by the black vortex. This discovery caused him to be extremely shocked. Looking at the opponent behind him, his aura was obviously much weaker than before. When he moved forward again, those people began to avoid Zichen and did not take the initiative to come into contact with him. Zichen finally arrived at the location of the 3 stars Holy Talisman Master from behind. Standing in front of Zichen was a giant ape. He stared at the approaching Zichen and said coldly, "Kid, get lost." Zichen naturally did not stop. He walked straight forward. The giant ape clenched his fist and punched at the black vortex. In front, Renjiang, who was in the form of a lightning tree, watched this scene nervously. When the giant ape's fist came into contact with the black vortex, it was as if it was cut by countless sharp blades and was instantly disintegrated. Then, the vortex tore at the giant ape's body and pulled it into the vortex. The giant ape let out a miserable shriek as it swam in a circle within the whirlpool. When it reappeared behind Zichun, its enormous body was noticeably smaller than before. This time, Zichun's perception was clearer and more obvious. His soul had clearly grown stronger. This gave him hope again. When he looked at those in front of him, his eyes were shining. Then, a second, a third, and a fourth. No one's soul could suppress Zichun's black vortex. The moment they came into contact with Zichun, they would be crushed by the vortex and their bodies would be swallowed by the vortex and thrown behind. Hearing those screams, the faces of the people in front of them turned ugly. Obviously, they felt threatened by Zichun's strength. Soon, Zichun arrived in front of the lightning tree. The lightning tree was Ranzheng. Was he going to devour him too? Do your best. Ranzheng's figure flashed, disappearing from Zichun's side. He took the initiative to make way for Zichun, who walked forward. In front of him were Leijing Hongyan's 3 subordinates. The one facing him was a thunder shadow leopard. Its eyes were red, and it seemed to want to devour people. Zichun increased his speed. The moment the thunder shadow leopard attacked, the black vortex shrouded its body. The weak thunder shadow leopard screamed and appeared behind Zichun. Then, the second person was killed. Zichun stood in front of Zhuda, who was in the form of a black beast. Zhuda said coldly, "Kid, you." Before he could finish his sentence, Zichun's black vortex had already extended towards him. Zhuda's voice disappeared, and the same miserable scream followed. The two were not on the same level. Leijing Hongyan, who had been moving forward, stopped for the first time. Chapter 3490. This was the first time Leijing Hongyan looked at Zichun. He had to admit that Zichun had given him many surprises. Qianli's failure to come here must have something to do with Lin Fan. Most importantly, in terms of pure soul power, his 3 subordinates had all lost to the other party. He knew his 3 subordinates too well. They had great potential, but he did not expect them to be so weak. "You're not bad. Are you willing to follow me?" Leijing Hongyan, who had turned into the thunder-fire Qilan beast, looked at Zichun and said in a dignified voice. Zhuda and the other 2 were shocked. They did not expect that their boss would lower himself to recruit Lin Fan. "Who are you?" Zichun looked at the thunder-fire Qilan beast and said indifferently. This time, Leijing Hongyan and Qianli had caused him a lot of trouble. Qianli was a 3-star sacred talisman master, but he had made things difficult for him. Obviously, it was not because of Leijing Hongyan, but because of Leijing Hongyan. During the battle, Qianli had said that as long as he killed Lin Fan, he would return the favor. "Kid, you're courting death." Zhuda shouted angrily from behind. "I thought you were smart, but now it seems that you're a fool. Do you really think you can walk over?" Leijing Hongyan said coldly. "We'll know if I can walk over or not." Zichun replied indifferently. "Kid, you have to think carefully. I've already thought about it. Don't worry. I'll give you 15 minutes to think about it." Leijing Hongyan's attitude was surprisingly good, which surprised Zichun. At this moment, Ranzheng's voice was heard. "Zichun, he's stalling for time. Go over quickly. There's a time limit here. Once you stop, it will be judged that you've chosen the location. You're courting death." Leijing Hongyan's body surged with a powerful aura. The Thunderfire Qilan beast roared at the sky. "I think you're the one courting death." Zichun snorted and moved forward without hesitation. The black vortex spun and went straight for Leijing Hongyan. Thunderfire Qilan beast's body surged with a terrifying aura. For a moment, the surroundings were filled with Thunderfire Qi. Zichun's expression was cold. The black vortex extended forward and met the Thunderfire. Qi, Qi, Qi. As the whirlpool spun at high speed, the thunder fire was quickly extinguished. In the blink of an eye, the thunder fire in front of Zichun had completely disappeared. The thunder fire Kirin Beast's eyes were filled with shock. The black vortex continued forward, engulfing the thunder fire Kirin Beast. A furious roar rang out. Countless lightning flames began to spurt out, filling the entire vortex in an instant. At the same time, Leijing Hongyan's cold voice rang out, "Brat, aren't you still able to devour? This time, I will make your body explode." However, as soon as his voice fell, the sound of ghosts crying came from the black vortex. It was as if countless ghosts had appeared and landed on the Thunderfire Kirin beast, then began to tear it apart. Leijing Hongyan's angry voice gradually turned into a cry of alarm, followed by a miserable shriek. All of the surging lightning and fire were vanishing at a speed visible to the naked eye. After a few breaths of time, all of the lightning flames were swallowed by the black vortex. A dim Thunderfire Kirin appeared behind Zichun. "Brat, you're ruining my future. You're courting death." Leijing Hongyan's angry voice rang out. Behind him, the others looked at the scene in shock. Leijing Hongyan was the most powerful existence among all the Saint Talisman Masters who came this time, and the foundation of a Saint Talisman Master was the soul. Who would have thought that in the soul confrontation between the two, Leijing Hongyan, the strongest, could only hold on for a few breaths of time? Zichun ignored him and walked straight forward. This time, no one blocked his way. However, after walking for a while, he gradually felt the pressure. "That's enough." Suddenly, an old voice rang out in Zichun's sea of consciousness. Zichun instantly became alert. If he guessed correctly, there was no old man among these people. However, when he looked around, there was no one else. "There's no need to go any further. This place is enough for you to exchange for your harvest." The old voice rang out again. This time, Zichun heard it clearly. When he looked back, he should be the only one who heard the voice. Behind them, Leijing Hongyan no longer moved forward. The Thunderfire Kirin he transformed into looked at Zichun and coldly said, "Do you think your position is very close to the front, and that you are the one with the greatest harvest?" Zichun looked at him when he heard that. "The gap between realms can't be erased. How long have we been in this realm? How deep is our foundation? You, on the other hand, have just reached this realm." As he spoke, soul stones appeared around Leijing Hongyan one after another. In this place, soul stones are the key. Each of the soul stones he took out was the size of a palm, and they were all surging with strong soul power. Zichun could tell at a glance that they were obtained after killing a 3-star talisman beast. This was also Zichun's biggest shortcoming. He reached the 3-star level after entering this place, so he didn't come into contact with any 3-star talisman beast. Naturally, he didn't get a high-grade soul stone. "Kid, you should know that the position doesn't determine anything. The soul stones are the most important." Judas said coldly from behind, "Do you want to borrow 2 soul stones to make up for the situation?" After everyone had settled down in their positions, they began to spread out their spoils around them. Next, the soul stones would be transformed into soul power. Buzz. Powerful soul power surged. Someone at the back was already undergoing the baptism of the mirror pool. A ray of light fell from the lightning mirror in the sky. The light fell on the Saint Talisman Master. Then, the water in the lightning pool surged up and drowned all the soul stones. In an instant, all the soul stones were transformed into soul water. It was like a water dragon that soared into the sky. The water dragon emitted a green light. It was 20 feet long. After circling in the air, it entered the Saint Talisman Master's sea of consciousness. The Saint Talisman Master closed his eyes. In the next moment, a strong wave of energy surged out. The Saint Talisman Master broke through, 2-star to 3-star. Like a chain reaction, more water dragons soared into the sky. Some were big, some were small, some were light, and some were dark. The 2-star cultivators broke through one after another. When it was Ren Zheng's turn, the water dragon formed by his soul stone was 10 feet long. Its luster had turned from green to deep blue. A dragon's roar resounded through heaven and earth. With the help of the soul power, Ren Zheng successfully advanced to 4-star. Then, Judah and the other 2 also transformed their soul stones. Similar to Ren Zheng, they also broke through one after another. Finally, it was Lei Zheng's turn. He snorted, "Today, I'll let you see what the biggest transformation is." As soon as he finished speaking, countless soul stones were drowned by the lightning pool. Then, a black water dragon appeared. Chapter 3491. The water dragons formed by soul stones had different sizes. The largest was no more than 10 feet. Other than that, there were also differences in color. Green was the lowest, dark green was the highest, then blue, dark blue, black, and black crystal. The black dragon that appeared before everyone's eyes was like a black crystal dragon. Its entire body shone with a black light. This had undoubtedly reached the highest level in everyone's knowledge, causing a commotion. It had been a long time since such a high level had appeared. The black crystal dragon soared into the sky and revolved around Lei Hongyin's body. A loud dragon roar resounded in the surroundings. "Kid, do you see that? This is the real opportunity." Lei Hongyin's cold and arrogant voice sounded. Zichun was indeed shocked. The other party was indeed a 3-star Saint Talisman Master. Now that he had devoured this black crystal dragon, he believed that the other party would easily break through. As expected, Lei Hongyin's soul had strengthened a lot after advancing to 4-star. Hence, he looked at Zichun and said proudly, "Kid, are you scared, silly?" Zichun came back to his senses. At this moment, everyone's attention fell on him. He was ranked the highest, but unfortunately, the soul stones on him were too low level. Zichun took out the soul stones on him. They were all obtained from killing 2-star talisman beasts. The number was increasing. 10, 20, 30, 40. When the crowd in the distance saw this scene, their mocking expressions, which were originally waiting to watch a good show, gradually changed. Although the soul stones Zichun took out were not of high quality, the number was not small. It was obviously much more than the other 2-star talisman beasts. Moreover, looking at Zichun's actions, it was obvious that he had more on him. 50, 60, 70. The 3-star Saint Talisman Masters who were previously 2-star talisman beasts were shocked. 80, 90, and the number was still increasing. In the end, the number stopped at 148. Everyone was shocked. Even some 3-star talisman masters' faces changed. The number of enemies killed was far more than everyone else. What's the use of killing more? Judah said disdainfully, "It's still the lowest level soul stone. It's far from a high-grade soul stone." The soul stones transformed from 2-star talisman beasts were called low-grade, while 3-star ones were high-grade. Lei Hongyin sneered and said, "You're only a..." Zichun ignored the other party. If he was at the 3-star level, or if he could meet a 3-star talisman beast, the number of enemies he killed would definitely be able to crush the other party. Unfortunately, he was only a 2-star at that time. This was the truth. However, at this moment, another soul stone appeared in Zichun's hand. Unlike the previous low-grade and high-grade soul stones, this one was emitting a golden glow. Everyone was stunned when they saw the golden soul stone. They had never seen or heard of it before. "Brat, what's the use of a broken stone? Could it be that you want to surpass us?" Judah's expression was still disdainful. Lei Hongyin snorted, "You're just a clown on your deathbed." Zichun had obtained this golden soul stone when he had passed the test to advance to 2 stars. Now that he was about to leave, he naturally had to use it. He put down the golden soul stone. Light fell from the sky. Beneath Zichun's feet, the pool of lightning surged upwards, drowning all of the soul stones. All of the soul stones were turned into soul power, and a water dragon appeared. The water dragon was cyan in color. Seeing this, Judah began to mock him. The disdain in Lei Hongyin's eyes grew stronger. The cyan water dragon soared into the sky, its color gradually darkening, turning into a dark cyan. The mocking was still there. The dark cyan water dragon began to dance around Zichun. In the blink of an eye, the dark cyan turned into a light blue color, and the mocking voices became softer. After all, their 3-star soul stones were only blue. At this moment, the color of the water dragon was still changing, from light blue to dark blue. All of the mocking voices disappeared, including Judah, who laughed the loudest. Even as a 3-star soul stone, he had not reached this level. However, he was still unconvinced. He sneered, "What's wrong with this? Big Brother Hongyin is still black." However, as soon as his voice fell, the dark blue water dragon shook its body and turned completely black. It was actually black? Everyone widened their eyes, feeling extremely incredulous. The soul stones Zichun took out were the lowest grade. Even if there were a lot of them, it was not enough to advance to black. Lei Hongyin's face gradually became ugly. The other party was at the same level as him. He felt that it was a shame. Unexpectedly, the black dragon let out a dragon roar, and the light on the surface of its body became deeper. It turned into a crystal black dragon. It was exactly the same as Lei Hongyin's. How is this possible? You're cheating. Lei Hongyin could no longer stay calm and shouted. The others could not believe their eyes. Zichen only took out 100 low-grade soul stones. How could he reach this level? Even if the first position had a bonus, it should not be so absurd, right? Zichun was also surprised by this level. Moreover, he was very satisfied. A loud dragon roar resounded, deafening. The black, crystal-like water dragon did not directly enter Zichen's sea of consciousness. Instead, it soared into the sky. The next moment, a golden light was released, illuminating the surroundings. The black dragon had turned into a golden dragon. In an instant, an even more powerful soul energy was released from the golden dragon. The moment they saw the golden dragon, everyone was stunned. This was completely beyond common sense. A black dragon was the limit. There had never been a golden dragon in history. What was going on? Was this cheating? Just as everyone was shocked, the golden dragon fell from the sky and entered Zichen's sea of consciousness. A complete golden dragon entered the sea of consciousness and was then swallowed by the black vortex. After being refined, the pure energy filled Zichen's soul. Zichen's soul energy was rapidly increasing. He could clearly feel that his soul energy was rapidly improving, and every time it increased, it would consume a huge amount of soul energy. Fortunately, the soul energy contained in the golden dragon was extraordinary. Buzz. Zichen's soul began to tremble, and there was another qualitative change. It was from 3 stars to 4 stars. At this time, the golden dragon's energy was almost depleted. After completely stabilizing the 4-star soul energy, it disappeared. The surroundings were silent. Everyone looked at Zichun, their eyes full of shock. This was a completely unbelievable scene. How could he condense a golden dragon with a pile of low-grade soul stones? Could it be the golden soul stone from before? Some people thought to themselves. No one laughed at Zichun anymore. Because he deserved to be the first person. The old man stood in the air, looking at this scene indifferently. He was not surprised. Zichun was the only one taking the test because he was the only one qualified to take the test. Buzz. At this time, ripples appeared in the mirror-like sky, and crystals appeared. Chapter 3492. The soul-gathering crystal was the main purpose of everyone here, and only a few people could get it. There were only 9 soul-gathering crystals falling from the sky. Except for Zichun, the other 9 people all got one. After receiving the soul-amassing crystal, everyone's face was filled with excitement. Although it was only a low-grade soul-gathering crystal, they were satisfied. The soul-gathering crystal was too valuable. Among the 9 people, except for Lei Hongyin, no one else had one. Of course, Zichen also had one, which he won from Lei Hongya. From this point, one could see the foundation of the Lei Zheng family. All 9 people got a soul-gathering crystal, except for Zichun. Judas sneered. It seems that you have used up your good luck. Lei Hongyin said coldly, luck can't decide everything. Zichun still ignored him, but looked up at the sky. There were ripples surging out again, and then another crystal fell from the sky. This crystal was the size of a palm, and it emitted a brighter light. When it appeared, the surrounding soul power gathered toward the crystal. It had its own devouring vortex, and it fell down. Seeing this, everyone opened their eyes wide, and their faces were full of disbelief. The sarcasm on Zhu Da's face disappeared, and he was stunned. Lei Hongyin's face became gloomy, and his eyes were burning with passion. It was a middle-grade soul-gathering crystal. This kind of thing was extremely rare even in the Lei Zheng family. And the current master of the Talisman Palace only had one middle-grade soul-gathering crystal. It's a middle-grade soul-gathering crystal? Gosh, you can get a middle-grade soul-gathering crystal in the Talisman Forest. This is the first time I've seen it. The people behind exclaimed. They were shocked, and at the same time, envious. Many people's eyes flickered with greed. If it were not for the rule that no one could rob here, they would all rush up. Rinzheng laughed. He should be the only one here who felt happy for Zichun from the bottom of his heart. The middle-grade soul-gathering crystal fell and sank into his glabella. There was no need to refine the medial-grade soul-amassing crystal. The medial-grade soul-amassing crystal that entered Shao Qin's sea of consciousness was automatically refined. Then, the low-grade soul-gathering crystal was forcefully pushed away. Zichun used his spiritual sense to remove the ownership of the low-grade soul-amassing crystal, and it appeared in Zichen's hand. When the people outside saw this scene, their eyes lit up again. Obviously, since Zichun had the mid-grade soul-amassing crystal, the low-grade ones were completely useless. Zichun turned to look at the crowd and immediately sensed their intentions. He waved the soul-amassing crystal in his hand and said, "Everyone, I have a world called Tianwu. When the time comes, I will put this crystal on sale there. If you're interested, you can go there and buy it." When the crowd heard this, they nodded one after another. Many of them revealed smiles on their faces. The soul-amassing crystal was precious not only because of its high value, but also because it was extremely rare. One had to know that Saint Talisman Masters could draw talismans, and the price was extremely high. Each of them was extremely wealthy, and it wasn't that they couldn't afford the soul-gathering crystal, but that they simply didn't have it. Just like the Holy Thunder Demon Bone, some people wanted to use resources to buy it, but they couldn't find a way to do so. Compared to the face of the Leijing family, Zichen's soul-amassing crystal was a real thing. Naturally, everyone was willing to be on good terms with him. Just when Zichun thought that this trial was over, he saw another object fall from the sky. This was a golden token, and it flew towards Zichun. Zichun subconsciously caught it. At this moment, the old voice that he heard before sounded again. When you reach the 6-star level, you can activate the Holy Thunder Golden Token and accept the trial. Once you successfully complete the trial, you may be able to obtain the second part of the Dark Ghost soul-devouring technique. Hearing this voice, Zichen's expression changed, and his eyes were filled with ecstasy. He didn't expect that there would be a second part of the Dark Ghost soul-devouring technique so soon. No one knew what the golden token was, but it was definitely something good. This could be seen from Zichen's changing expression. Unfortunately, they didn't have time to ask. The trip to the Talisman Forest was over. From the beginning to the end, the old man didn't appear. This was because he only paid attention to Zichen. The others weren't even qualified to be looked at by him. In the space that Fu Lao guarded, it was quiet, but no one could remain calm. At this moment, only 2 people had not returned. One was Zichen, and the other was Ranzheng. Everyone stared at Zichen, and their eyes flashed with killing intent, especially Qianli. His great opportunity to break through was ruined by Zichen just like that. He had already made up his mind that after this incident, he would not let him go. A soul fluctuation appeared, and Fu Lao opened his eyes. He knew that the two should be back after the trial in the Talisman Forest was over. As expected, Zichen and Ranzheng opened their eyes one after another. "Zichen, you're courting death." At this moment, Qianli's eyes flashed with killing intent. The others also stood up and stared coldly at Zichen. Buzz. Zichen's soul aura surged like a storm and swept across the surroundings. As the spirit soul tempest passed by, everyone present felt a terrifying pressure land on their bodies. Those 2 stars were even worse off as they collapsed onto the ground one after another. The soul aura of a 4-star sacred talisman master, coupled with the Dark Ghost Devour Soul technique, Zichen's soul was exceptionally powerful and terrifying. In an instant, everyone's expression changed drastically. The killing intent in their eyes turned into horror. 4-star, he's actually a 4-star. Sensing Zichen's soul aura, Fu Lao was extremely agitated. Unlike the others, their true cultivation level was above 6-star. However, Zichen was only a 4-star sacred spirit, but his sacred talisman master cultivation level had also reached this level. How amazing was this? This was a true sacred talisman master. What are you trying to do? Releasing his soul aura, Zichen looked coldly at everyone. "Zichen, you sneaked an attack on us and stole our resources." Someone said angrily, "You only have such cultivation level because you sneaked an attack on your own people. Don't you feel guilty?" "Guilty?" Zichen said disdainfully. "Then see if I should feel guilty or not." A ray of light condensed from Zichen's hand and turned into a memory crystal ball. Then, the scene inside appeared. Zichen shouted at his own people and walked forward, saying that he would help everyone for free. Everyone was shocked. They did not expect Zichen to have such a trick up his sleeve. In an instant, everyone's expression became very ugly. Then, there was the battle. It was a complete mess. Zichen relied on his extreme speed to send everyone away under the indiscriminate attacks of the sacred talisman. Then, there was the conversation between him and Qianli, as well as the battle. Sneak attack? It did not exist. After the 9 extremes talisman array appeared, Qianli did not have the ability to resist at all. Chapter 3493. The scene ended and the surroundings were silent. No one spoke again. Back then, they were bent on killing Zichen and did not hold back at all. Hence, Zichen killed them all instead. Sneak attack? Naturally, it did not exist. Are we on the same side or not? Zichen looked at everyone. If we are on the same side, why do you want to kill me? Didn't I say that I would help you for free? Zichen, don't try to quibble. You obviously wanted to snatch the resources. That's why you deliberately said that. Otherwise, why would you use the memory crystal? Qianli snorted, his eyes cold. Zichen smiled faintly and said, Of course I'm afraid that you will confuse right and wrong. Look, the truth is right in front of you. Yet you still have excuses to deny it. Let me ask you, what if this truth did not exist? Would you say that I ambushed you all? How shameless I am, and how righteous you all are. Considering the big picture, everyone was silent. Because when they came back, that was indeed what they said. Each and every one of them was filled with righteous indignation. Zichen looked at the group and said, Actually, I think that this should be a good thing for you all. Everyone stared at Zichen, their eyes spitting fire. Snatching our things is a good thing for us? The root cause of this matter does not lie with me. Let me ask you, even if I did not appear, do you think that you would have been able to obtain the soul energy in the end? Zichen, what do you mean? Qianli shouted angrily. Zichen smiled faintly and said, You know very well what I mean. Perhaps you really would have shared a portion of the soul energy with everyone. Then, Zichen looked back at the group. But I appeared, and Qianli insisted that you all kill me. But when I counterattacked, what did he do? Everyone, if Qianli had attacked back then, I believe that at least half of you would have been able to survive. But he did not. He watched you all die, or rather, patiently waited for you all to die. Then, he wanted to kill me and snatch the last of the resources. When he came back, he could have been a hero. Unfortunately, things didn't go as planned. He was too weak and was easily annihilated by my level 9 talisman formation. You all obeyed this fellow's every word, but he only cared about harming others. This time, because of this matter, you all have completely seen through him. Speaking of which, even if you don't thank me, you should feel lucky that you recognize someone. Zichen, you're courting death. Hearing Zichen's words, Qianli's eyes were overflowing with murderous intent. This was not just slander, but also a form of alienation. The blow to him was too great. Courting death? You think you can do that? Zichen looked at him with disdain and said indifferently, Do you know who I hate the most in my life? They hated people like you the most. They only followed you because they trusted you and listened to your orders. In the end, you wanted them to die. Speaking of which, this was only a trial. Even if they died, their souls could still return. But what if you were in the outside world? For some resources, you would join forces with others and decisively give up their lives. Now, you actually have the cheek to join forces with everyone and once again use their trust in you to directly crusade against me. Where's your conscience? Qianli pointed at Zichen and was trembling with rage. You despicable kid. In next to no time, Qianli noticed that something was wrong, because those fellows that originally hated Zichen had actually turned their heads to look at him with extremely cold and indifferent gazes. He cried out in his heart and hurriedly said, Everyone, don't listen to this fellow's nonsense. He seized our things. Otherwise, he wouldn't be at such a level. Now, we should join forces and crusade against Zichen. No one replied, and the gazes of everyone became even colder. Qianli, why didn't you stop Zichun at that time? Renjiang, who had been silent all this time, suddenly spoke. This was the crux of the problem. The others stared at Qianli and waited for his answer. Because there were many 3-star talisman beasts besieging me. Where could I find the time? Look, when I went all out to kill the 3-star talisman beasts and was about to help everyone, they were already gone. Qianli explained. Renjiang said, so, when Zichun killed them, it just happened to be when you killed the 3-star talisman beasts? Qianli said angrily, Renjiang, you're changing the concept. Zichun said disappointedly, Qianli, it's fine if one makes a mistake. But if you don't admit your mistake and don't change it, instead, you think you're right. This is simply incurable. Fu Lao, I think we should leave. Zichun said in the end, there's simply nothing to say to such a despicable person. Fu Lao nodded. His eyes that looked at Zichun were filled with admiration and even gratitude. He waved his hand, and an exit appeared in front of them. Everyone walked out one after another. At the same time, the talisman hall that had always been sealed was officially opened. The experts guarding outside the talisman hall quietly left. Fu Lao looked at everyone and said, everyone, take a break for 2 days. After 2 days, those who have advanced can come to the talisman hall for the assessment. Everyone bowed to Fu Lao and left one by one. Qianli stared at Zichun with eyes that looked like they were about to spit fire. He was a 6-star holy spirit and was only 1 step away from 7-star. If he had successfully advanced to a 4-star holy talisman master, everything would have gone smoothly because of his powerful soul. Unfortunately, all of this had been ruined by Zichun. Everyone left, except for Zichun and Renjiang. Fu Lao looked at Zichun and said, Zichun, I have to thank you this time. Thank me? Zichun was stunned and didn't understand what was going on. Fu Lao smiled bitterly and said, if it wasn't for you, Qianli might have left with all the holy talisman masters after this trial ended. Leave? Where to? Zichun asked in surprise. The Leizheng family. Fu Lao said, I've received news that the Leizheng family has a very close relationship with Qianli. It's very likely that they want to poach all the holy talisman masters from the talisman hall. Zichun asked in confusion, this is the talisman hall, the core of the Holy Thunder clan. What right does the Leizheng family have to challenge the talisman hall? The talisman hall belongs to everyone, but the Holy Thunder clan belongs to itself. I'm sure you can figure out the reason behind this. Zichun nodded. This reminded him of the Wuji sect. After they were trapped in the Lightning Divine Hall, the huge Wuji sect was gradually divided. In the end, the Wuji sect disappeared and a few powerful clans appeared in the Holy Land. Fu Lao sighed and said, actually, the Talisman Hall should change the rules. After all, it's different now. Unfortunately, the Hall Master clearly said that the rules can't be changed. Alright, let's not talk about this anymore. Come and test your level. Chapter 3494. Zichun was also very curious about his own cultivation level. He walked into the examination room where the 4th grade holy pin and talisman paper were placed. Zichun looked around and was puzzled to find that there was no holy ink. Try using soul control to replace the ink with energy, said Fu Lao, who was standing beside him. At this moment, Renjiang was already standing in front of another table. He glanced at Zichun and said, the energy of a 4-star sacred talisman master is already enough to replace the holy ink. You can try it slowly. There's no need to rush. Fu Lao also said, that's right. This isn't an official examination. Feel free to use the talisman paper. Zichun just noticed that there was a stack of talismans in front of him. Just as he was about to pick up the brush, there was an energy fluctuation beside him. He saw a 4th grade talisman paper shatter and energy surged out. As soon as the vibrating energy left the table, it encountered a barrier and disappeared. This was Renjiang's first attempt, and it ended in failure. Don't worry, it won't disturb you, said Fu Lao again. He was looking forward to Zichun's performance. Zichun nodded and adjusted his breathing to calm himself down. Then, he held the 4th grade holy pin in his hand and urged the energy in abdomen to gather in the holy pin. The holy pin started to glow. Lightning flickered at the tip of the pin like a sharp blade. Although the fourth-grade talisman paper itself was very tough, it was still much weaker than the energy surging out of the pin tip. If he didn't control his strength well, it would be easy to fail. This was a test of his soul. Zichen's huge soul instantly shrouded down and carefully controlled the power at the tip of the holy pin. At the same time, Zichen started to draw the talisman. Naturally, it was the Holy Thunder talisman that he was most familiar with. Carefully, a Holy Thunder talisman was completed. Buzz. Light patterns surged out, but there were only 3. It was obviously a 3-star Holy Thunder talisman. Using a 4-star material to draw a 3-star talisman was undoubtedly a failure. Not bad. Fu Lao nodded and praised. This can be considered a success. At the same time, Run Zheng's second talisman paper shattered. Compared to him, Zichen could barely be considered a success. Then, Zichen drew a second one. It was still a 3-star painting, but after these 2 attempts, he was much more confident. As the third Holy Thunder talisman was completed, 4 light patterns surged out from it. 4-star. At this point, Zichen had completely advanced. Amazing! Truly amazing! Fu Lao exclaimed in admiration. At this point, he was certain that Zichen was a saint symbol master. A 4-star Holy Spirit was also a 4-star Sacred Talisman Master. This was the strongest state of a Sacred Talisman Master. A long time ago, this kind of existence was very common, but now, the Holy Thunder Clan had never produced such a Sacred Symbol Master. Fu Lao, I've passed, right? Zichen turned around and asked. Chi. Before old Fu could reply, Runzhang wasted another 4th-grade Saint Talisman parchment. Then, he smiled and shook his head. It seems that this is the disadvantage of having a weak soul. I need to take it step by step. I can't rush it for now. He also knew the difference between him and Zichen, so he wasn't jealous at all. You've officially advanced to 4-star. I'll immediately give you the rewards you deserve as a 4-star Sacred Talisman Master. Fu Lao said excitedly, You'll definitely like these rewards. Wait here. I'll personally arrange them for you. Fu Lao turned around and left excitedly. Congratulations. I've never seen Fu Lao so excited before. Renzhang came to Zichen's side and said, Even if everyone is taken away by Qinli this time, as long as you stay in the Talisman Hall, I believe Fu Lao will still be happy. You alone are comparable to many Sacred Talisman Masters. You flatter me. How can I compare to so many Sacred Talisman Masters? You don't plan to try? Zichen asked with a smile. Renzhang shook his head again. He looked at Zichen with resentment. I'm a genius among the Sacred Talisman Masters after all. However, I only know what a genius is after seeing you. I won't try anymore. I'll slowly try at home. Speaking of which, even if I succeed today, I'll lose my confidence after seeing your achievements. Zichen smiled. It was obvious that Renzhang was just talking. He was really good to him, and was also someone he could befriend. Big Brother Renzhang, I wonder if the Talisman Hall will give out sacred talismans and sacred brushes after I advance to 4-star? Zichen asked the most important question. Renzhang looked at Zichen from head to toe with a strange gaze. Zichen was stunned and said, Why? Is there a problem? Won't a sacred talisman master feel stupid for asking this question? Renzhang found it funny. Ren Zheng's words made Zichen stunned again. Stupid? Why? Those things are too valuable. It's naturally better to save as much as possible. A sacred talisman master will complain about being poor. Renzhang was amused and asked, How long have you been a sacred talisman master? Zichen thought for a while and said, About a year. This time, Renzhang couldn't laugh. In just a year, he had advanced from 1-star to 4-star. This speed was simply too fast. He seemed a little depressed. Fu Lao came with the robe that represented a 4-star Sacred Talisman Master. It was equivalent to a 4-star battle armor. To Zichen, it was definitely a good thing. Then there was the 4-grade Sacred Talisman Paper and Sacred Brush. They were all given away for free. This made Zichen very excited. Renzhang looked at Zichen's expression and shook his head speechlessly. This is the lowest grade among the 4-grade Sacred Talismans. Zichen smiled and said, It's better than nothing. As long as it was cheap and free, it was naturally a good thing. As for whether it was good or bad, Zichen didn't care. Then, Zichun thought of a very important question and said, Fu Lao, I wonder if the talisman hall still has the previous transaction? What kind? Take the sacred talisman paper first, then return the sacred thunder talisman directly. Of course, how many do you want? Take 200 first. Zichun thought for a while and said, Okay, when the time comes, just give us 24-star sacred thunder talismans directly. Fu Lao said, Why 20? Zichun was a little confused. Didn't it used to be 40? Fu Lao glanced at Renzheng. The latter was a little depressed. Zichun suddenly understood. It was because of the success rate. When a 4-star sacred talisman master reaches 4-star, the number of sacred talisman arts you can use will obviously increase. These are your rewards. Next, you can go to the Sacred Talisman Pavilion and choose 2 4-star Sacred Talisman Arts. Fu Lao said again, I can only choose 2? Zichun was a little disappointed. Fu Lao smiled and said, If you want them, you have to accumulate more contribution points. With your current 4-star Sacred Talisman Master rank, the speed of accumulating contribution points is very fast. Chapter 3495. Since Ranzheng didn't succeed in riding the 4-star Holy Thunder Talisman, he naturally didn't advance and wouldn't receive any rewards. He decided to go back and have a good rest. He was originally in a good mood after returning victorious, but after comparing himself to Zichun, he felt rather depressed. Naturally, he rejected Zichun's invitation to look at the Holy Talisman Arts with him. Who knew when the time came, it would give him another invisible shock, causing him to feel even more depressed. Fu Lao brought Zichun to look for the Holy Talisman Arts. The Talisman Hall represented a faction and wasn't a special hall. Naturally, there was a special place to store the Holy Talisman Arts. As Zichun moved forward, his strong soul clearly sensed a powerful existence hiding nearby. This was definitely the safest place in the Holy Thunder Clan. There was no need to worry about thieves coming. The two of them arrived in front of a hall. There was no one guarding it. Fu Lao walked forward and waved his hand. A 4-star Holy Talisman appeared and flew forward. The Holy Talisman imprinted on the hall door and released a bright light. Countless holy runes appeared on the hall door. The holy runes lit up one by one and connected. Then, like a tide, they spread to the sides. Crack! The door of the palace slowly opened, and an extremely powerful soul fluctuation surged out from within. Fu Lao looked at Zichun and said, Go, choose the Holy Talisman Arts that are suitable for you. Zichun nodded and walked in. This was a huge space with thousands of light dots floating above. They were like countless shining Xingchun. These were all Holy Talisman Arts. Zichun was dazzled by them. He tried to extend his soul to sense the Holy Talisman Arts. Buzz! It was like a stone falling into a calm lake, instantly causing countless ripples. The flickering Xingchun seemed to have come alive at this moment. Light patterns surged out. 1, 2, 3. The light patterns divided the realms very well. Zichun could only see Holy Talisman Arts below 3-star. As for the 4-star Holy Talisman Arts, they hadn't appeared yet. Zichun's gaze landed on a Xingchun that had yet to activate its light inscriptions. He was a little puzzled. His soul extended forward like an agile snake. Just as his soul was about to land on it, the Xingchun star began to tremble like a blazing sun. It was incomparably red, and waves of energy spread out in all directions, directly shaking Zichun's soul away. Shua! In the next moment, this raging flame Xingchun flew into the distance like a bolt of lightning, its speed extremely fast. Looking at the 4 light wheels around the sun, Zichun knew that this was the 4-star Sacred Talisman technique. However, he did not expect that the other party would actually resist. If you want to obtain the 4-star Sacred Talisman technique, it will depend on your ability. Fu Lao's voice suddenly sounded. Once you've chosen a suitable Holy Talisman art, you can make your move. Next, Zichun's spiritual thoughts began to touch the other Xingchuns and awaken the various 4-star Sacred Talisman arts. Some turned into long swords and danced in the air. Some were like blades, cutting through the air. There were dozens of 4-star Sacred Talisman arts, all of which were flying at high speed and did not stop after being activated. Being able to reach the 4-star sacred talisman art in itself indicated that it was extraordinary. Therefore, Zichun needed to choose one from among them. The sword and blade were all good. Zichun was a little tempted. At this moment, he saw a 4-star sacred talisman art. There was no sign of it being activated, and it was just dancing in the air. He was a little surprised. After all the 4-star sacred talisman arts were activated, there would be an extraordinary sign. Why did this 4-star sacred talisman art not have any? Zichun's soul stretched out, wanting to grab the other party and observe carefully. Wong. Just as his soul approached, a powerful force came, directly shaking Zichun's soul back. Zichun was a little surprised. He released his soul even more violently. The wave of energy also became stronger. It was like layers of ripples, shaking off Zichun's soul seal time and time again. I don't believe it. The repeated failures had stimulated Zichun's courage. His soul quickly appeared, turning into a black energy hand and grabbing at the 4-star sacred talisman art. The surrounding space was completely sealed. The 4-star sacred talisman art space of movement was getting smaller and smaller. Just as the 4-star sacred talisman art was about to be grabbed by the 4-star sacred talisman art, an arm suddenly appeared. The arm clenched into a fist and punched Zichun's 4-star sacred talisman art. The sky shook. A ripple spread out in all directions. Countless rays of light penetrated the 4-star sacred talisman art, shooting out in all directions like sharp swords. The 4-star sacred talisman art fled as the 4-star sacred talisman art dispersed. Zichun's face turned pale. He was actually injured. His face gradually turned ugly. He was actually injured by the sacred talisman art. It was simply unimaginable. Originally, he only wanted to sense it from a close distance and had not made a decision. But now, he was completely determined. This was it. Wong. A vortex appeared around him. The vortex spun at high speed, like a soul storm. Rumble. A deafening sound was heard. Go. As soon as he finished speaking, a small tornado flew out from the soul storm, constantly extending into the sky. Wherever it passed, a powerful soul aura shook, shaking off the sacred talisman art. Zichun's soul was like a storm dragon. While shaking off the sacred talisman art, it went straight for the target. The target fled at high speed, but its speed was not as fast as the storm dragon. The distance between the two was closing. Wong. On the 4-star sacred talisman art, the arm from before appeared again. It clenched into a fist and punched at the storm dragon. The void shook again, and the storm dragon paused for a moment. However, before the second punch landed, the storm dragon instantly moved forward and swallowed the arm along with the sacred talisman art. Then, the storm dragon returned. Unexpectedly, just as Zichun's storm dragon returned, a black light flew from another direction. It was like a black lightning bolt, directly entering the storm dragon. The storm dragon had completely returned, and Zichun had 2 more sacred talisman arts in his hands. The first one was what he insisted on looking for, while the second one was black. It came to him on its own. Just as Zichun was incomparably stunned, a light descended from the sky and landed on Zichun's body. Then, Zichun's body was forcibly taken away. Standing outside the hall, Zichun was completely stunned. How could it be so fast? Fu Lao looked at him in surprise. What did you choose? Zichun took out the 2 sacred talisman arts and shook his head. I don't know. I didn't have time to check one, and the other one came by itself. Oh. Old Fu stepped forward and asked curiously, It's coming on its own. Let me see what kind of technique it is. Zichun was about to hand the black sacred talisman art to Fu Lao. Unexpectedly, the black sacred talisman art turned into a light and entered Zichun's forehead. Fu Lao was stunned. Zichun, on the other hand, was extremely shocked. At this moment, a sacred talisman art appeared in his mind. Chapter 3496. The name of the technique surprised Zichun. There were only 2 words, Ghost Spirit. There was no other description, including its level. Fu Lao's expression changed. He picked up the other holy talisman technique beside Zichun and glanced at it. So it's this. Looks like your luck is not bad. Zichun came back to his senses and asked, "What's this?" Heavenly Saint Arm. A holy talisman technique that can be used to attack and also to support oneself. Although it's only a 4-star holy talisman technique, it's not weaker than some 5-star holy talisman techniques. Fu Lao said, "Just this point alone is enough for you." Zichun took the holy talisman technique with satisfaction and said, "The one that disappeared earlier is called Ghost Spirit. I don't know what level it is." Ghost Spirit? Fu Lao was stunned. There's such a holy talisman technique? Obviously, he didn't know either. Zichun nodded. The holy talisman technique's name was Ghost Spirit. Since that's the case, it proves that you and I are fated. You have to practice more in the future. Fu Lao encouraged Zichun again before sending Zichun off. Looking at Zichun's back as he left, Fu Lao muttered, "Ghost Spirit? Why haven't I heard of it before?" After leaving the Talisman Palace, Zichun went to look for Grace. When she saw Zichun, she was very surprised. When she saw the holy talisman robe on Zichun, she was even more surprised. "You've already advanced to 4-star? Zichun smiled. "I just advanced. Do you have time? Let me treat you to something. A 4-star holy talisman master is treating me. Even if I don't have it, I have to say yes," Grace said with a smile. However, she quickly stopped smiling. Then, an exquisite jade box appeared in her hand. She looked at Zichun and said, "Are you serious?" Zichun looked at her in confusion. Wasn't this the gift he gave Grace when they first entered the Talisman Forest? Seeing Zichun stunned, Grace asked, "Do you know what's inside?" It was Zichun who had put it there, so of course he knew. However, he still didn't understand what Grace meant. "Don't you know the value of this thing?" Grace asked again. Zichun suddenly understood and said with a smile, "We are friends. You have helped me so much. What's wrong with giving you a small gift?" "How is this a small gift? Even if I serve you for thousands of years, I won't be able to obtain it," Grace said excitedly. The reason why she cared so much was because there was a thunder leaf in it. It was a leaf that fell from the tree of the lightning ancestor. As long as he had one, he could go to the tree of the lightning ancestor to comprehend it. Many of the Holy Thunder clans were reluctant to use such a thing. Who would give such a thing away? However, Zichun didn't care at all. "I wanted to give you a surprise, but I didn't expect it to turn into a scare. But since I've already given it to you, it's fine as long as you don't lose it. I won't take it back. Also, I'm really hungry." Looking at Zichun, who was almost shameless, Grace felt a warm current in her heart. Only then did she calmly accept this precious gift. "In that case, I'll treat you," she said. "Okay, it's rare to get a bargain. I want to eat something good." "Up to you." After eating, Zichun returned to the Tianwu world. Every time he came back, there would be new changes, especially the spiritual power of heaven and earth. He went to find Jolina and told her that no one had come to cause trouble during this period of time. Zichun then returned to his room. Next, he needed to draw talismans. Not only could he exchange them for resources, but he could also increase his proficiency to prepare for drawing other 4-star holy talismans. One after another, the 4th grade Holy Thunder talismans were successfully drawn. A tyrannical fluctuation spread out from the room. In one day, Zichun successfully drew 50 talismans. This efficiency and speed could be said to be terrifying. Zichun didn't go out again. For days later, all the holy talismans had turned into finished Holy Thunder talismans. After giving these 4-star Holy Thunder talismans to Jolina and instructing the Talisman Hall and wanting to split them equally, Zichun left the room and began to patrol the city. An hour later, Zichun saw 3 people and frowned slightly. It was Li Hongfang, the one he had beaten up last time. He didn't expect this guy to come to this city again. Beside him, the 2 beautiful and powerful maids were still following him. The 2 of them also noticed Zichun and immediately protected Li Hongfang behind them. Then, the 2 women saw Zichun's holy talisman master battle robe and their expressions changed. "You actually successfully advanced?" Li Hongfang behind them also noticed this and cried out involuntarily. It had been a few days since everyone returned. Li Hongfang naturally knew what had happened in the Talisman Forest. However, Li Hongyin, who had also advanced to 4-star, had yet to draw a 4-star holy talisman. But Zichun was actually wearing a holy talisman battle robe. Just from this point alone, he was much more powerful than Li's Henghong Yin. Zichun narrowed his eyes slightly and looked at Li's Henghong Fong. "Why are you here?" Sensing the change in Zichun's tone, Li's Henghong Fong subconsciously took a step back. He had long been traumatized by Zichun. Although this guy didn't dare to kill him last time, he had left him with a huge psychological trauma. "What are you doing?" "We're here legally," said a maid beside Li's Henghong Fong. "That's right. I'm now a resident of this city. I have a residence in this city. I can walk freely here and go wherever I want." Li's Henghong Fong also mustered up his courage and said. Zichun was still looking at him. "If you don't believe me, you can ask. Why are you looking at us?" "Humph, you're so boring." Li's Henghong Fong turned around and walked away. Clearly, standing in front of Zichun was too much for him to bear. Looking at the three of them leaving, Zichun frowned slightly. This guy had repeatedly come here to cause trouble. After being taught a lesson, not only did he not repent, he even came here again. He even bought a residence, clearly intending to stay here for a long time. Although Zichun was very confident in his own world, this place couldn't be better than Lei Zheng's family. What was the other party's motive? After that, Zichun went to find Jolina and asked about this matter. She told him that Li's Henghong Fong had bought a treehouse at an irresistible price, and he hadn't continued to cause trouble during this period. Zichun nodded. Since that guy was well-behaved, he would let him continue to stay here. Half a day later, the holy talisman that Zichun had exchanged for arrived. Among them, the talisman hall gave him 800 blank pieces. Grace exchanged the previous 100 pieces for 2,300 four-star holy talisman papers from Wan He. With so many blank pieces of holy talisman papers, Zichun began to write the other four-star holy talismans. In order to be safe, he still completed 200 holy thunder talismans first so that he could exchange them later. Currently, Zichun had mastered 3 4-star holy talisman techniques. Furious Thunder Roar. Heavenly Power Saint Arm Ghost Spirit. The former was given to him by the Lei Zheng family. The reason why they gave him such a high-level holy talisman technique was obviously not out of good intentions. Under normal circumstances, Zichun would need at least 10,000 years to reach the level of a 4-star holy talisman master. However, they would never have thought that Zichun would actually reach 4 stars in such a short period of time. Chapter 3497. The 3 types of Saint Talisman arts had to be differentiated. Zichun looked at the Furious Thunder Roar first and realized that it was very complicated. There were 2 extremes in this technique. One was very simple and did not match the level of a 4-star Saint Talisman. However, the possibility of this was not high. The Lei Zheng family could have given him a low-level talisman. There was no need to give him a 4-star one. The other extreme was very difficult. It was so difficult that it was impossible to comprehend it. It was the same as not having it. With Zichun's current level of attainment, he could feel the difficulty of the Furious Thunder Roar at first glance. There were too many patterns in it. It was very complicated. He did not hesitate and chose to give up. Next was the Heavenly Saint Arm. This Saint Talisman art had left a deep impression on him. Compared to the Furious Thunder Roar, it was much easier. Zichun started to comprehend it. Then, he slowly started to draw. Light surged at the tip of the brush. Pure energy landed on the talisman paper. Without the Saint ink, Zichun had saved a lot of money. Chi. The talisman paper broke. There was a wave of energy that spread out. It created a powerful ripple that shook the entire treehouse. As expected, he failed again. Zichun was not disheartened. He put down the Saint Talisman brush and rubbed his forehead. He had used up too much energy. He had failed more than 20 times. The difficulty of a Saint Talisman master drawing talismans was gradually showing. Even he had failed more than 20 times. If it was someone else, they would have failed even more. Zichun went outside for a walk to calm himself down. During this time, the mid-grade soul-gathering crystal absorbed the soul energy in the surroundings to recover his soul. After his soul energy recovered, Zichun returned to the treehouse and continued to try to draw the Heavenly Saint Arm. Just like that, 3 days passed. After using up nearly 100 4-star Saint Talisman papers, Zichen finally succeeded in drawing a heavenly saint arm. A ripple spread out. The heavenly saint arm appeared on the saint talisman paper. There were 4 glowing patterns on it. He had succeeded. Zichen's face revealed a look of joy. When he was drawing the talisman, he gradually understood the heavenly saint arm. Once it was activated, a huge arm would appear. Its attack power was very strong. On the other hand, if one wanted to provide assistance, all one had to do was to place it on one's arm, and it would be able to unleash its greatest power. After succeeding once, the subsequent attempts were much easier. Zichen's success rate increased exponentially, and in the end, he had a 100% success rate. If this kind of saint talisman were to be sold, its price would definitely be much higher than the Holy Thunder talisman. However, Zichen had no plans to do so for the time being. Now that the heavenly power saint arm had been completed, Zichen started to try to comprehend the ghost spirit. This was a special saint talisman technique, and it was he who had run over to Zichen. The ghost spirit did not look complicated, but after trying it out, Zichen discovered that it was actually much more difficult than the heavenly energy saint arm. He kept trying and failing. Just as Zichen was feeling frustrated by the number of failures, Jolina's voice came from outside. "Come in." Zichen put down the holy talisman brush and heaved a sigh of relief. He then turned around and asked with a smile, "Why are you here today?" Jolina smiled bitterly. "I can't help it. I really can't stop them. Those people are not to be trifled with." "Are they here to cause trouble again?" Zichen frowned. "No, they're all here for the soul-gathering crystal. They said they want to buy it." From Jolina's helpless expression, Zichen knew that many people had come. However, none of them were real Saint Talisman masters. They were probably managers or something like that. This was because if a real Saint Talisman master came, even if there was only one, Jolina would not be able to stop them. "How's the development of the Tianwu world?" Zichen asked. "The basic facilities have been completed. Next, we need to prepare how to attract more people, or something that will make people's eyes shine." Jolina said, at the same time, "I came here for another reason, which is to artificially control the direction of spirit power and create 1 or 2 extraordinary cities. This way, our world can be connected to the outside world in the shortest time possible, and at the same time, attract enough people." "That's not a problem." Zichen thought for a moment and said, "How about this? Go and tell them that the low-grade soul-gathering crystal will appear in an auction. When the time comes, we'll inform them in advance." Jolina nodded. "How many cities do you plan to develop first?" Zichen continued to ask. 3. Jolina obviously had a perfect plan before coming. She said, "Tianwu, Zisu, and Zixian. These 3 cities." The cities in the Tianwu world had long had their own names. Tianwu was the most central city, and it was also the city where Zichen currently lived. Zichen's spiritual thoughts moved. Through the rules of the Tianwu world, the energy from the Void Thunder Sea was being crazily absorbed and then converged into these 3 cities. At the same time, the energy from the Tianwu world also gathered in these 3 cities. In the blink of an eye, the energy of heaven and earth contained in these 3 cities was obviously different from that of other cities. At this moment, the people in these 3 cities all had surprised expressions on their faces. Li Henghongfeng walked out of his room. He looked at the abnormality around him and said, "It seems that this world is going to be open to the outside world. To be able to control the direction of the spiritual power so easily and not damage the world at all, this Zichen is really extraordinary," Vanilla said from the side. Li Henghongfeng shook his head and said, "No, it's the world. This world has a secret that belongs to him, and that's why it can be easily controlled. But what exactly is this secret?" Li Henghongfeng hadn't found out yet. This was also the main reason why he came here. The reason why he was willing to abide by the rules here was also because of this. When Jolina walked out of Zichen's room, she was very satisfied with the changes in this city. Everything that followed would be left to her. She had already decided that after a year, the Tianwu world would be officially open to the outside world. During this period, there would be a huge auction. This auction would last for several months. The auction would start with the simplest things and involve all realms. During this period, if she wanted to attract more holy spirits, she would have to take out enough things that would attract them. After Jolina left, Zichun gave up on the ghost spirits and continued to write the Holy Thunder Talisman. He needed to exchange for more resources to add to his strength for the auction. As the number of holy talismans increased, Zichun's contribution in the Talisman Hall also increased by a lot. These contributions could be exchanged for many resources in the Talisman Hall, and these resources could also be taken out and sold in the Tianwu world. The core products of the Holy Thunder clan were naturally the best. Everything was proceeding in an orderly manner. Zichun had been working hard to strengthen the Tianwu world. During this period, there were no accidents. It seemed that everything had become quiet. It was just that the unknown martial heaven world was releasing one piece of information after another. Those information were all very rare things that were useful to all sorts of existences. That included holy spirits. Even some aristocratic families were incomparably shocked and moved after hearing about it. Chapter 3498. Zichun sat in the VIP room and looked at the auction below. Jolina was wearing a rainbow-colored dress. Her slender waist outlined her perfect and well-proportioned figure. She had the bloodline of the god race. She was beautiful, and her voice had a strange magic as she explained the auction items one by one. There were many people sitting below the stage, and there were many sacred spirits among them. While they were interested in the auction items, there were also many people who looked at Jolina passionately. In a short while, the atmosphere became heated. This time, even many core disciples have come. Your fame in the Tianwu world has become incomparably resounding. Grace, who was sitting next to Zichun, said with a smile, "It's all thanks to your family's promotion. Otherwise, it wouldn't be so lively," Zichun said. "That's just one aspect. In addition, the items you took out, not to mention the sacred spirits, even many aristocratic families are tempted." Grace said, "This time, I heard that even the Leizheng family secretly sent people over." Zichun wasn't surprised by this, because the items he took out this time were enough to attract people. In addition to the auction, many shops opened at the same time. These shops sold other things that were precious, but not enough to be auctioned. It had to be said that the Tianwu continent had attracted too much popularity in a short period of time. A rare item like the sacred thunder demon bone would be secretly bought at a high price in the outer realm before it appeared. However, in the Tianwu world, there were many of these things. Some of them even appeared in sets. Other than the sacred thunder demon bone, there were all kinds of other high-grade resources. This time, Jolina's plan was very simple. Attract enough popularity, from the lowest level to the highest level of sacred spirits. On the streets of the city, there were many cultivators. Their realms weren't high, but wherever they passed, they would look at the shops on both sides of the street and exclaim. Not to mention the many resources in this world, just the spiritual energy of heaven and earth here was so rich that it amazed them. Right now, because this was the first time it was open to the outside world, there were no levels yet, so anyone could come. Once everything settled down, many low-level existences would not even have the qualifications to enter this place. Along the way, there were heated discussions everywhere. For example, if one lived here for 100 years, would they be able to break through to the next realm? At the same time, there were many core disciples here. One had to know that this kind of existence could not be seen normally. The auction was divided into several stages according to the value of the resources. Among them, the various sets of holy lightning demon bones took up a large proportion. Time was limited every day, so the auction lasted for a whole month. On the last day of the auction, Steward Imo arrived. He was one of the truly important figures in the Sacred Thunder tribe. His status was even higher than that of many of the leaders of the aristocratic families. After he arrived at the auction house, it naturally caused quite a commotion. Zichun invited Butler Missouri to the VIP lounge. He was very surprised to see the old man. Steward Imo smiled and said, "Since you are not here, I am here to see if everything is going well." Zichun hurriedly nodded, repeatedly indicating that everything was going well. He already knew that when he beat up the people from the Leizheng family, they did not come to make trouble. It was not because they knew they were in the wrong, but because Steward Imo had personally visited the Leizheng family. This time, Steward Imo came uninvited. Obviously, he was here to cheer for Zichun and also to intimidate them. With him here, there would not be any accidents. In addition to Steward Mo, many other important figures came today, including some family heads. Because it was the last day of the auction and the items being auctioned were too valuable, many family heads had to come in person to ensure that nothing would go wrong. The auction items were sold one by one, and the bidders were all holy spirits. At this stage of the auction, all the resources were already targeted at holy spirits. Everyone. The next item to be auctioned is a piece of low-grade soul-gathering crystal. As Jolena's voice fell, the holy talisman masters were all energized. A new round of bidding frenzy began. Jolena stood on the auction stage. At this time, a maid came up with a jade plate carrying a box. This was a box made of special materials, made of the Holy Thunder Demon Bone. In the Holy Thunder clan, the Holy Thunder Demon Bone was a rare item. Everyone could not wait to refine it into a weapon after obtaining it. Who would refine a box to store things? It was simply a waste of God's gift. But from another perspective, since the box was made of the Holy Thunder Demon Bone, how valuable would the item inside be? Shaolina said, "Ladies and gentlemen, this is the last item of this auction. In fact, for many people, this item's value is not high, but for those who really need it, it is almost priceless." The surroundings instantly quieted down. Although many people had heard the news, they still had a strong sense of anticipation in their hearts when they heard Shaolina's words. "I won't keep you in suspense. There are actually 3 leaves inside. We usually call it Thunder Leaf. Its use is very simple. You can only take it into the core Holy Thunder territory and go to the Tree of the Thunder Ancestor to comprehend it." There was no need to explain Thunder Leaf. As Jolena's voice fell, the surroundings were filled with exclamations. In the Holy Thunder clan, the value of Thunder Leaf was immeasurable because this item would never be sold in the world. It had never been sold. It was something that core disciples had to rely on their connections to fight for, but now 3 pieces had appeared at once. "Excuse me, is it 1 piece at a time?" A voice came from the noisy crowd. "There are a total of 3 pieces in the box. It will only be auctioned once, 3 pieces at a time." Jolena smiled. "The starting price is 10,000 Saint-grade crystals, and each increase must be no less than 1,000. There were sounds of discussion again, mixed with the sound of bids. The price was rising. "Oh, 3 pieces at a time." Steward Mo was a little surprised and glanced back at Zichun. Zichun said, "Actually, according to my previous idea, it should be auctioned 3 times. But Jolena disagreed, saying that it would be better to sell 3 pieces at a time." Steward Mo smiled. "It seems that you have an amazing strategist by your side. If 1 piece was auctioned at a time, it would need to be auctioned 3 times in a row, and the final price would naturally be different. Moreover, all the clans fought on their own and guarded against each other. But selling 3 pieces at a time was different. Many of the clans competing for it could completely form an alliance in private. In this way, under the competition of many allied clans, the final price of the 3 pieces of Thunder Leaf would inevitably be a sky-high price. Under the situation where the price had increased tenfold, the bidders were still many small forces. The large forces that had come specifically for this were still motionless. The price increase continued for a while. When it reached 20 times the original price, the speed of increase slowed down a lot. Chapter 3499. This was a high price of 30 times the original price, and it shocked the people before. However, after thinking about it, Thunder Leaf was comparable to a foundation, and this price was not high at all. Apart from that, the most important thing was that the name of the Leizheng family carried too much weight. Moreover, the other party's words were obviously meant to intimidate and establish their power. Zichun's expression did not change, as if he did not hear it. On the auction stage, Jolena did not change much. This scene was already expected. The Holy Thunder clan was very big, and there were many families. The Leizheng family was one of the best, but they were not the only one. And things like auctions had always been about fairness. 400,000. As soon as the other party's voice fell, a second voice came from another VIP room. 500,000. 600,000. The Leizheng family's bid was instantly drowned out, and this made the other party's expression turn ugly. 700,000. He bid again. 800,000. 900,000. His voice was drowned out again. This was a battle between families, and there was no distinction between the strong and the weak, only wealth. Thunder Leaf was so precious that it could not be seen at all. This time, 3 pieces had appeared. This was an extremely rare opportunity for many forces that did not have the qualifications to enter the core of the Holy Thunder territory, but had enormous wealth and resources. Therefore, the Lei Zheng family's bids were quickly drowned out by other voices. More people were bidding without hesitation, but they all restrained themselves and did not raise the price too much. As the price continued to rise, many forces gradually withdrew. However, withdrawing did not mean that they had admitted defeat. Instead, they began to form alliances in private to form even greater wealth and influence. After many forces began to form alliances, the Lei Zheng family, with its deep foundation, seemed to be lacking in confidence. It was not that they did not have enough resources, but it was impossible for them to put all their eggs in one basket to buy these 3 pieces of Thunder Leaf. Because it was not that the Lei Zheng family did not have such things. They had their own estimates of the value of Thunder Leaf, and once the price exceeded their estimates, they would give up. Therefore, in this auction, they were the first to be eliminated. Even though the person in charge of the auction was unwilling, he could only admit defeat in the face of the alliance of so many forces. Steward Mo didn't leave, but waited until the auction was over. In the end, the 3 pieces of Thunder Leaf were bought by an unknown person at a price 1,000 times higher than the starting price. Next, Zichen accompanied Butler Missouri as they left the auction hall. After that, Butler Missouri discovered quite a few acquaintances and deliberately stayed behind to greet them. The reason was self-evident. Steward Mo's temper was extremely good. When many of the family heads of the outer factions came forward and greeted him nervously, he would politely respond with a smile. Zichen was touched by this scene. Obviously, this was to help him stabilize the world and intimidate the world. At night, in Zichen's room, Jolena said, "This time, the butler of the Lord's mansion is here, and it has saved us a lot of trouble. Moreover, the development of the situation was much better than I had imagined." After the auction ended, many unsatisfied forces contacted me and asked if there were any more Thunder Leaf for sale. Zichen shook his head and said, "Thunder Leaf can't be sold for the time being. Otherwise, there will be trouble." Jolena nodded and said, "I know that, so I gave an ambiguous answer. I didn't say there were any, nor did I say there weren't any, but many forces immediately expressed that they wanted to develop here and stay here permanently. Tomorrow is the time to discuss the ownership of many properties." Zichen's idea was to develop the martial heaven world into a core city of the sacred lightning race. They would be able to take out many rooms that could allow them to increase their cultivation base quickly. They would be able to sell or rent those rooms to people who came to this world. During this period, he needed to deal with many forces because the construction in this area required a huge consumption of resources and manpower. The remuneration for all of them was an astronomical figure. After all, the cultivators who came here were all for survival, and resources were a necessary condition for them to survive. Although Zichen had never given Jolena any remuneration, he was never stingy in terms of cultivation resources. At present, everything was not going well, so Jolena just didn't have the time to cultivate, not the lack of cultivation resources. In the Tianwu world, Zichen was just one of the providers of resources behind the scenes, and Jolena was the one walking in front. Therefore, after the auction ended, Zichen continued to draw talismans. With the increase in the number of holy talismans, Zichen felt that his soul had become more condensed. Coupled with the mid-grade soul-amassing crystal, his soul was growing all the time. The Tianwu world was developing rapidly, and it was very good. Zichen also had a rare leisure time. He didn't have to go out to fight or take risks, so he just drew talismans every day. Another characteristic of a holy talisman master was revealed: rich. After constant transactions, he had accumulated a lot of holy talisman papers and many contribution points. With a deeper understanding of holy talisman masters, Zichen also gradually understood the magical effects of high-quality holy talisman brushes. Therefore, he decided to use his contribution points for the first time to exchange for a higher-quality holy talisman brush. On this day, Zichen left the Tianwu world and returned to the core city. He took his contribution token and went to the Talisman Hall. I knew you were coming, so I've prepared everything for you. Fu Lao had a long square box in his hand. The box had simple patterns on it. He handed the box to Zichen and said, "This is the holy talisman brush that the hall master used back then. We have been keeping it, and this time, it's finally going to welcome its owner." Zichen's expression changed when he heard this, and he hurriedly said, "That's not very good, right?" Fu Lao smiled and said, "The hall master's realm is unfathomable, and he didn't need it long ago. Moreover, it has been gathering dust in the Talisman Hall for so many years. Today, it finally met the fated person, and it is a blessing for it. Of course, you must deduct more of your contribution points this time." In the end, Fu Lao actually made a joke. Zichen didn't refuse and put away the long box. "Work hard. I believe that you will definitely be extraordinary in the future." After old Fu gave Zichen a few more words of encouragement, Zichen took his leave. After leaving the Talisman Hall, Zichen didn't go to his residence in the core city. Instead, he planned to return directly to the Tianwu world. Just as he walked to the teleportation array entrance, Zichen heard a voice behind him. It was Grace. "What's wrong?" Seeing the other party's extremely solemn expression, Zichen was slightly surprised. "Something happened. Come with me quickly." "What happened?" Zichen was still in a daze. "It's Lei Lan. Something happened to her. Come with me quickly." Chapter 3500. Lei Lan was the first friend Zichen had made in the Holy Thunder territory, and she was also the only disciple of the Holy Thunder Sovereign. When Zichen went out on a mission, he specifically asked Lei Lan to help look after the Tianwu world. In the end, when he returned, he found that she was already out on a mission. At that time, Zichen felt that something was wrong. Core disciples had a lot of freedom, so why did she have to go on a mission at that time? After so many years, Lei Lan had never returned. Although Zichen had doubts in his heart, he didn't care. For the long history of the Spirit Clan, it was normal for a mission to take many years. Not to mention a few decades, it was normal for it to take hundreds or thousands of years. Being dragged by Grace, several thoughts flashed through Zichen's mind, and his face gradually became gloomy. An oppressive chill emerged from Zichen's body. At such a close distance, Grace felt as if a great monster had suddenly awakened beside her. What happened to her? Zichen asked in a low voice, deliberately suppressing his infinite killing intent. "It's not the worst yet. You'll know when we get there." Grace led Zichen into a hall. At this time, there were already two people standing in the hall. One was a middle-aged man he had never seen before, and the other was Steward Imo. Seeing Zichen come in, Steward Imo nodded slightly at him. "What happened to Lei Lan?" Zichen asked anxiously. "Don't worry, this is Lei Yongyan, the person in charge of our Holy Thunder Core clan. He also brought back the information about Little Lan," Steward Imo said as he pointed to the middle-aged man next to him. "Sir, what's going on?" Zichen asked in a deep voice, "What happened to Lei Lan?" "When she was out on a mission, she encountered the Death Prison Star Pirates," Lei Yongyan said in a deep voice. "Death Prison Star Pirates? So they killed Lei Lan?" Zichen asked anxiously. This question stunned Lei Yongyan. He stared at Zichen with a strange expression on his face. Steward Imo said, "It's Zichen's first time in the Holy Thunder Clan, so he doesn't know much about some of the forces in this world." Lei Yongyan nodded and explained, "The Death Prison Pirates are a unique force. They are not loyal to any force and mainly rely on bounties to survive. It specializes in targeting core disciples with great potential, such as Lei Lan, a core disciple of the Holy Thunder Clan." Zichen said, "So, they only captured Lei Lan and didn't kill her?" Lei Yongyan said, "From the information we received, that is indeed the case." Zichen asked, "What resources do they want? Saint crystals?" Lei Yongyan shook his head and said, "From the news this time, they don't want any resources." Looking at the other party's hesitant expression, Zichen asked, "What exactly do they want?" "Sir, please tell us. No matter what, we will do our best." "They want Thunder Leave, and 3 Thunder Leave at that," Lei Yongyan said in a deep voice. "The news clearly states that they don't want anything other than Thunder Leave. If they don't give us thunder leave, they can't guarantee how Lei Lan will be treated. Zichun, who was originally a little flustered, calmed down after hearing such an unreasonable request. He didn't know about the death prison pirates, but since they lived on bounties and had existed for so many years, the main reason why they hadn't hurt the major forces was because of their combat strength. For example, if they asked for such resources every time they captured a core disciple, he believed that this force would have long been uprooted by the other forces. After regaining his composure, Zichun looked up at Lei Yongnian and asked, "Sir, what do you think of this matter?" Lei Yongnian said, "In the eyes of the pirates, everyone is valuable. But this time, it doesn't seem to be in line with common sense." Obviously, the other party had also noticed the problem. Lei Lan's life was important, but it wasn't as important as 3 thunder leave. Zichun asked again, "Who sent Lei Lan on the mission last time?" "The mission was sent by us," Lei Yongnian said. "Was the mission so important that Lei Lan had to be sent?" Zichun's words were obviously doubtful. Lei Yongnian looked at Zichun's attire and said, "When we received the news, we found a vein suspected to be able to mine soul-gathering crystals. As a Saint Talisman Master, I believe you know the importance of soul-gathering crystals. Lei Lan wasn't the first core disciple we sent. We sent many people to investigate this matter." "Oh, Butler Missouri knew about this matter at the time." Zichun looked at Butler Missouri, who nodded and said, "There's no problem with the mission. The appearance of the death prison pirates was just an accident." "Was the reward of 3 thunder leave also an accident?" Zichun asked. Butler Missouri said in a low voice, "You'll have to investigate this yourself. We've secretly found out where the death prison pirates are holding Lan. However, the death prison pirates are too cunning. Once they find something wrong, they'll escape in advance. They might even harm Lan, so we can't send experts there." Zichun understood Butler Mo's meaning and said, "Give me the location and the place of the transaction." Once he found that he couldn't rescue Lei Lan by force, Zichun would still make the transaction. Other people might not be able to take out 3 thunder leave, and even if they could, they might not be willing to. However, this was nothing to Zichun. After getting 2 different locations, Zichun said goodbye and left. He first bought some pills, then returned to the Tianwu world and told Jolina where he was going. After learning that something had happened to Lei Lan, Jolina was very worried. Zichun left quietly without alerting anyone. When he was teleporting in the outer area, he paid the teleportation fee and didn't use his core disciple token. Everything was to keep it a secret. After several teleportations, Zichun successfully left the area controlled by the Holy Thunder Clan. What followed was an extremely long journey. Lei Lan was imprisoned in a place called the Star Island region, which was one of the public contact points of the death prison pirates. The location of this transaction was in the Alliance Star region next to the Star Island region. However, it was only a small alliance, and the 2 star regions were relatively remote. Zichun sat in the Saint-level flying ship. This was one of his spoils of war. It needed to be powered by Saint crystals and was very fast. For many cultivators who crossed multiple star regions, this kind of Saint-level flying ship was very important. The flying ship didn't need to be deliberately controlled. He only needed to keep a wisp of spiritual sense. Zichun was still drawing talismans. There were many unknown dangers in the future, so the more Saint talismans, the better. Bang! A loud vibration suddenly sounded. The flying ship was attacked and stopped abruptly. Chapter 3501. Zichun frowned slightly at the destruction of the holy talisman. Why did danger appear so soon? The people inside. "Get the hell out." A cold voice sounded from outside. "Get out now, or you'll be killed." There were quite a number of people. Angry shouts sounded one after another, and attacks landed on the spaceship from time to time. Zichun walked out of the spaceship and looked ahead. There were more than a dozen people staring coldly at Zichun. Zichun only wore an ordinary black robe instead of the Holy Talisman Master robe, as he had to keep the trip a secret. "Who are you?" Zichun asked indifferently as he looked at the unfriendly crowd. He had scanned them with his spiritual thought and found that the highest realm among them was only a 3-star divine spirit. There was nothing to be afraid of. "Looks like it's your first time in our desert star zone. You don't even know about the famous desert star pirates." The 3-star divine spirit, Who was the leader? Sneered at Zichun. Desert Star Pirates. That's the Killing Star Pirates. This name is really inauspicious. Zichun's voice was still calm. You're courting death. A cold, murderous intent flashed in the three-star divine spirit's eyes. He raised his hand and was about to give an order. Unexpectedly, his expression changed drastically, and there was a look of horror in his eyes. A holy talisman had appeared in front of the prey he had identified. There were 4 light patterns surging out of the holy talisman. This was a 4-star holy talisman. Once it was used, it would be comparable to a 4-star divine spirit's full-force attack. Such an attack would be fatal to any of them. I still suggest that you change your name. Killing Star Pirates is really inauspicious. Zichun put away the 4-star holy talisman and walked toward the spaceship. These people looked like star pirates and were not scheming as he had thought. Naturally, he would not argue with them. You really don't know what's good for you. Who would have thought that at this moment, a mocking smile would appear on the 3-star Holy Spirit's terrified face. Then, the others roared with laughter. You think you can scare us with just a 4-star Saint Talisman? How ignorant are you? If the space pirates of the desert were so cowardly, how could we have stood firm in the desert for so many years? Idiot brat, even if we can't kill you, there will naturally be others who will. At the same time, congratulations, your praise level has increased to the intermediate level. Amidst everyone's mocking laughter, a tyrannical aura appeared from behind. A 4-star Saint Spirit had arrived. The crowd parted to the sides as the 4-star Holy Spirit walked forward. He stared coldly at Zichun, his eyes filled with killing intent. Since you're already here, you want to leave without leaving anything behind? Leave what? Zichun turned around and looked at him, his expression as calm as ever. Of course it's fate. The 4-star Holy Spirit sneered. Zichun frowned as a cold light flashed in his eyes. The 4-star sacred talisman that had disappeared earlier reappeared. As soon as it appeared, the Saint Talisman shattered. A tyrannical aura spread out from the front. Light swirled in front of Zichun, and a huge arm appeared. A terrifying aura circulated, and the crowd's mocking laughter came to an abrupt end. Everyone looked at the floating arm in shock. The 4-star Holy Spirit's expression changed drastically. He felt a strong threat from the arm that was hovering in the air. Under the floating arm, Zichun said indifferently, "This will not happen again." As soon as he finished speaking, the Saint Talisman clenched his fist and punched forward. A sharp whistling sound came from the void, and a terrifying energy swept across the area. The fist whistled forward and hit the 4-star Holy Spirit. Divine protection. The 4-star Holy Spirit shouted, and a light shield lit up in front of him. There were words shining on the light shield. Apparently, it was a special defensive technique. The fist approached and hit the light shield. The void shook violently as a powerful ripple spread out in all directions. As the fluctuation passed, those who had been there earlier were all sent flying. Their faces were pale as they coughed up blood in the void. Before the Saint Talisman Master's fist dissipated, a powerful force attacked, and many cracks appeared on the special defense formed by the 4-star Saint Talisman Master. Boom! In the next moment, the special defense was shattered, and the fist hit the 4-star Holy Spirit's chest. Accompanied by the sound of bones breaking, the 4-star Holy Spirit was severely injured. Zichun looked forward and was very satisfied with the performance of the heavenly Saint Talisman Master. He turned and entered the flying ship, turning into a beam of light and leaving. He could not waste too much time with these people. It was necessary to intimidate them at the critical moment. Zichun left in the flying ship, and the 4-star Holy Spirit returned in a sorry state. There was still fear on his face. It was just a Saint Talisman, and he had been defeated. It was unbelievable. Looking in the direction of the flying ship, the 4-star Holy Spirit said coldly, "Send the message. The target has been locked on and is approaching the designated area." Immediately, someone took out a message token and began to send the message over a long distance. Back in the flying ship, Zichun did not draw any more talismans. He was worried that accidents would happen again. However, the rest of the journey was surprisingly smooth. It seemed that the previous intimidation had a great effect. In order to avoid trouble, Ziqian did not try to get close to the planets. Instead, he moved forward in the void. Just when he felt that no one would disturb him again, a light pattern suddenly appeared in the sky. The light pattern was constantly lit up and extended into the distance. There was a powerful aura surging in this world. Ziqian's expression changed, and he looked up at the sky. He saw that all the glowing runes were beginning to gather power. Then, a straight beam of light descended from the sky. Sensing this, Ziqian accelerated the flying ship forward. However, at this moment, the flying ship suddenly shook, as if it was enduring an infinite force. Its speed did not increase, but decreased. The beam of light descended from the sky and landed on the flying ship. Boom! A huge shockwave spread out, accompanied by the disintegration of the flying ship. Ziqian appeared from it. The huge shockwave caused his black robe to flap loudly. The disintegrated flying ship immediately fell to the ground. There was a huge light network of runes there, forming a gravity formation. Previously, the flying ship's speed did not increase, but decreased because of the gravity. Above his head, there was an attack formation that was gathering power again. Ziqian's spiritual sense quickly extended, but it was blocked by an invisible force after only extending for 1,000 feet. Come out! Ziqian's expression was cold as he swept his gaze around. No one responded. In the sky, a powerful aura surged again. It was the formation gathering energy again and launching a second attack. Chapter 3502. The beam of light fell from the sky and lightning flashed around Ziqian. Ziqian decided to dodge. Buzz. At this moment, the gravity formation below was activated. Ziqian's body began to fall uncontrollably. As the danger approached, the light beam struck Ziqian's head like a real light beam. Ziqian shouted. Holy talismans appeared in front of him, one after another. There were a total of 9 talismans, forming the 9 ultimate defense. The light beam fell on the defense, causing countless ripples. The 4 holy talismans surrounded by light patterns were quickly dimming. The power of the light beam was also being dissolved. Finally, the light beam disappeared completely. The 9 4-star holy talismans were on the verge of shattering. Bad start. Ziqian's expression gradually turned ugly. He looked at the formation above his head, which was gathering energy again. He decided to destroy it first. At this moment, lights flew from all directions. They were sword lights. There were 9 of them, forming a strange sword formation with decisive killing intent. First, it was a powerful formation. Now, it was a sword formation. Ziqian would never believe that it was not prepared. Another 4-star holy talisman appeared in front of him. It was the heavenly Saint Arm. The moment it appeared, it smashed toward the sword lights in front of him. There was a whistling sound. The surging light around became very dazzling. The heavenly energy Saint Arm suddenly exploded, and the 9 sword lights dimmed as they returned to him. A person appeared beside Ziqian. All the sword lights returned to his side and spread out like a folding fan. The sword edges were sharp. His body glowed, and the light reflected the gravity array below, allowing him to move normally in this gravitational space. Moreover, he was a 5-star saint spirit. Who are you? Ziqian stared at him. His expression gradually turned cold. You can call me Jianhai. Jianhai smiled faintly and said, I'm good at using sword formations. Ziqian said, Are you also a space pirate? Sort of. Jianhai looked at Ziqian and said, Do you have any last words before you die? Ziqian said, Are you so sure that you can kill me? You will definitely die today. The sea of swords pointed forward, and the 9 swords from before moved forward again. Let's see how many more talismans you have. Another heavenly energy saint arm flew out from Ziqian's side. Using a 4-star saint talisman to fight against a sword formation, no matter how one looked at it, seemed like a waste. After all, each saint talisman was extremely valuable. Using such a method to fight was indeed a little too extravagant. Another explosion sounded out as the heavenly energy saint arm once again forced the 9 swords back. At this moment, Ziqian suddenly felt a dangerous aura coming from behind him. The moment he turned around, he saw a fist getting closer and closer to him. Ziqian clenched his fist and punched back. Lightning swirled around his fist. With a loud bang, Zichen's figure flew back in the air, while his opponent was sent flying. The second 5-star Holy Spirit appeared. It was a muscular man with a bare upper body. You can call me Lehigh. I'm good at using my physical strength. Both of them had 5-star Holy Spirits. There were 2 formations, one above and one below. To deal with a 4-star Holy Spirit like me, you guys have put in so much effort. Zichen looked up at the sky. The formation there was about to complete its 3rd charge. Swoosh, swoosh. Lehigh and the Sea of Swords launched another attack. Zichen already had a record of killing a 6-star Holy Spirit. No matter how extraordinary the 2 of them were, Zichen was not afraid. Unfortunately, the influence of the gravity formation below was too great. This was why Zichen was constantly suppressed during the battle and was unable to make ends meet. Bang! Zichen sent Lehigh flying with a punch. At the same time, he used his lightning speed to resist the pressure and approached his opponent. In an instant, his speed exploded, and he was getting closer to Lehigh. 9 rays of sword light came from behind, and another heavenly energy saint arm flew out from Zichen's side. In the blink of an eye, he was close to Lehigh. Zichen clenched his fist and punched out again. This punch was the Thunder Blast. Once it hit Lehigh, even if it did not kill him, it would definitely make him lose his ability to fight. Seeing the fist coming toward him, a hint of mockery flashed in Lehigh's eyes. The wind howled, and countless sand and stones flew, covering the sky instantly. Lehigh disappeared into the sand and stones. At the same time, more sand and stones flew towards Zichen to wrap around him. In the blink of an eye, a sphere formed by sand and stones appeared, and Zichen was trapped in it. Boom! In the next moment, the sand and stones exploded, and Zichen appeared. He saw the 3rd person in the field. Without waiting for the other party to speak, Zichen said coldly, "You should be Shahai, right?" "That's right. I am Shahai, the ruler of this star zone." Shahai said coldly, "You should be very happy to die in the hands of us 3 brothers." He pointed to the sky and said, "Are you satisfied with this holy light formation?" At this time, the holy light formation had finished charging for the 3rd time. It launched a powerful attack again, and at the same time, with the gravity formation below, it was determined to destroy Zichen. Outside the battlefield, 2 people were standing, watching the battle in the formation coldly. One of the middle-aged men saw this scene, smiled faintly and said, "I didn't expect you to have made so many preparations." The other person, who was shrouded in a black robe, said indifferently, "He's dead for sure. Looking at the current situation, he's definitely going to die. It's good that you've taken your revenge." The middle-aged man said, "I'll be responsible for bringing his corpse back later." The black-robed man said, "Everything he has is mine. This is what you promised." The middle-aged man said, "We only want the one thing he has. You can take all the other resources. Don't worry, although that thing is precious, it's useless to you." The black-robed man said, "You're talking about Thunderleaf, right?" "You know?" The middle-aged man looked at him in surprise. The black-robed man's eyes flashed with resentment. "I've been waiting for him to die all the time. Of course, I know what he has. I can't return to the Thunder Clan. Thunderleaf is useless to me, but I need a reward worthy of Thunderleaf." "All right." The middle-aged man nodded without hesitation. The light beam fell from the sky, making Zichen waste 9 sacred defense talismans again. If he hadn't been prepared and careful, Zichen would have been in real danger this time. The 3 of them stared at Zichen, their eyes cold. Jianhai took a step forward, 9 sword lights revolving around his body. "You're doomed. Any last words?" "Doomed? With just the 3 of you?" Zichen's expression was extremely cold. The formation above his head began to gather power again. Yellow sand flew around the sea of sand. He smiled coldly and said, "This is no longer confidence, but arrogance. I wanted to give you a chance to leave your last words. Since you don't cherish it, then forget it. I'll send you on your way." The 3 of them immediately charged at Zichen. At this moment, Zichen looked up at the sky. A bolt of lightning appeared. Chapter 3503. The commotion in the sky was so great that the three of them had to stop attacking and look up. Then, they saw the spirit formation crumble. How is this possible? The trio's faces were filled with shock. Why would a perfectly fine array be destroyed? Looks like you three are the arrogant ones. Now, I'll give you a chance to leave your last words. Zichen's voice was equally cold. Don't be so arrogant. Even without the array, you'll still die today. Li Hai's eyes flashed with killing intent as he charged at Zichen. Is that so? Then let's wait and see. Zichen's hand flashed, and a sheathed saber appeared. It was the demonic saber that he had fused with. He had not used it for a long time. Now that he had the demonic saber in hand, he unsheathed it. A thunderous saber light shot toward the gravity array below. As the saber light approached, ripples appeared on the surface of the array, forming a protective barrier. Whoosh! The saber light fell forcefully, instantly destroying the barrier and falling into the gravity array. Boom! There was an explosion of energy, and the array collapsed. Without the two matrices, Zichen's biggest threat was gone. He stared at the three of them, and a cold smile appeared on his lips. Now, let us see who will live and who will die. Holy thunder flash! He moved at the maximum speed, like a bolt of lightning that could change positions at will, and swept toward the sea of swords. Watch out! Shahai warned loudly. Countless flying sand serpents formed and shot towards Zichen to intercept him. Whoosh! 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 The saber light flashed, and the flying sand pythons were destroyed one after another. He was getting closer and closer to the sea of swords. Go to hell. Around Jinhai, 9 rays of sword light spun rapidly. Vaguely, they seemed to form 100 rays of sword light, forming a sword aura. Zichen approached quickly and unsheathed his saber again. The terrifying power of the holy thunder gathered in the demonic saber. The world suddenly lit up, and the saber light came. The sword force that blocked Zichen was destroyed. The saber light approached and landed on Shahai's body. Sacred blood splattered in the air, and the sea of swords could no longer be seen in front of Zichen. At the crucial moment, he was saved by Li Hai, but there was also an extremely deep blade wound in front of him, which looked extremely terrifying. Li Hai turned his head and stared at Zichen. He gritted his teeth and said, "You are courting death." Zichen's expression was indifferent. He turned around and drew his saber. The saber light tore through the sky and cut open a huge sand beast. Countless yellow sand scattered as Shahai's body continuously retreated. His face was a little pale, and his eyes were full of shock. Obviously, he didn't expect Zichen to be so strong. Zichen looked at the sea of sand, his expression unperturbed. Ever since I became a sacred symbol master, I've never truly fought with my full strength. Now that I've connected various techniques, I feel a lot rusty. You still have one chance to use your full strength, just one chance. As Shahai listened to Zichen's calm words, he didn't know why, but he felt an intense unease in his heart. He didn't know much about Zichen. He only knew that the other party was a core disciple of the Holy Thunder Clan, but his realm was only 4 stars. How could he be so strong? However, as the master of an area, he naturally wouldn't run away from a battle. At this time, he took a deep breath and said in a deep voice, "Very good. I just happened to master a move." Zichen suddenly shook his head and said, "Why do you have to do this?" Shahai felt a strong sense of vigilance in his heart, but he didn't know what was going on. Puff! The sound of a weapon piercing through a body came from behind Zichen, and a flash of lightning came to Zichen's side. It was the flying saber. It was the one who broke the formation in the air earlier. Li Hai, who was almost behind Zichen, appeared. At this moment, his eyes were wide open and his hair stood on end. Zichen did not even turn his head as he said, "Originally, he could have died in a dignified manner. The previously injured Sea of Swords was now dead. Ah, I want you dead." Li Hai rushed towards Zichen like a madman. The fist intent was vast and mighty, and Li Hai's expression was ferocious and terrifying. Behind him, Shahai's hands began to form seals. More sand appeared beside him, and a terrifying aura began to ripple. His heart was heavy, and he had vaguely guessed that this might be his last battle. When Li Hai and Zichun came into contact, there was no terrifying surge of energy, nor was there an earth-shattering explosion. Lightning flashed, and Zichun moved from in front of Li Hai to behind him. The two stood with their backs facing each other, motionless. Feeling the aura of Li Hai's death, Sha Hai closed his eyes and formed the last seal in his hand. Annihilation sandstorm. Countless sand flew, like a wave in a raging sea, and swept towards Zichun, covering the sky and the earth. Between heaven and earth, a loud sound spread, like a clap of thunder. Countless sandstorms with terrifying power fell on Zichun, drowning Zichun in an instant. The sandstorm was still surging, and the corpses of Li Hai and Jian Hai were completely swallowed by the sandstorm. In the blink of an eye, there was a floating continent made of flying sand around them. Light flashed, and Sha Hai's figure appeared. His face was very pale, as the previous move had consumed too much of his strength. Is he dead? Looking at the motionless ground, this thought appeared in his mind. Just as this thought appeared in his mind, a ray of light shot out from the ground. It was a ray of saber light, and when it separated the flying sand, it arrived in front of Sha Hai at an extremely fast speed. Whoosh! The saber light swept past Sha Hai's body. Sha Hai's expression froze, and he looked forward. He saw Zichun's figure appear from the ground. His robe was a little tattered, and he looked a little bit embarrassed. Your move is not bad, but your realm is too low. Zichun, who walked out of countless sand and stones, said. As a 4-star, he despised a 5-star opponent for having a low realm. It sounded ridiculous. However, Sha Hai did not laugh. His vitality was fading, and the flying sand under his feet turned into countless light spots, dissipating into the sky. Zichun glanced at Sha Hai, and then looked into the distance. I was going to ask you who arranged all of this, but it seems that there is no need for that now. A long howl came from the distance. An aura belonging to a 6-star saint spirit was quickly approaching Zichun. Sha Hai's body fell backward, and he fell into the void. 3 rays of lightning flew out from Zichun's body and swept over the bodies of the 3 people. After they died, their bodies were completely crystallized, and they were pure saint crystals, which he put away. Next, he just had to wait for the opponent to arrive. It was a man in a black robe, and the aura flowing around him made Zichun feel that he had seen him before, but there was also a strong sense of strangeness. He even felt a little evil. This made Zichun very puzzled. It seemed that there was no problem with his spiritual sense perception, so naturally, he would be familiar with it. The black-robed man approached, and his eyes were fixed on Zichun. Zichun, you didn't expect this, did you? Zichun's expression changed slightly, and for the first time, his eyes showed disbelief. Chapter 3504. Gone High, Zichun exclaimed. Although this ugly face was very different from the original Gone High, the expression in his eyes and his voice had not changed. In addition, there was also a familiar soul aura. Aren't you dead? Why are you still alive? Zichun was shocked. Gone High was punished by the Holy Thunder Clan, or rather, pushed out by other forces as a scapegoat. Under such circumstances, with the supervision of the Holy Thunder Clan, there was no way for him to survive. Zichun's current Tianwu sacred region was Gone High's force back then. Are you surprised? Or are you disappointed? Gone High stared at Zichun, his eyes full of resentment. Zichun said, I'm indeed surprised, but as for disappointment, it doesn't exist. How are you going to die? Gone High said coldly, other than a quick death. You can choose any way to be tortured to death. Zichun said, it seems that you've put all your anger on me. Speaking of which, you were the one who provoked me back then, and the one who pushed you out in the end was also the force you always believed in, or rather, your backer, right? Cut the crap. In order to kill you, I didn't hesitate to train myself into this appearance. Gone High pointed at his ugly face that could never be repaired and said resentfully, after waiting for so many years, this opportunity has finally come. Feeling the strong killing intent from the other party, Zichun said, in that case, let's fight to the death. Gone High's body was surrounded by lightning, but it was tinged with black. The moment his aura circulated, Zichun suddenly felt an inexplicable sense of danger. Go to hell. Ganhai rushed forward and punched at Zichun. Zichun, who had put away his demonic blade, also punched back. In terms of physical strength, he was not afraid of anyone at all. Boom! With a loud bang, powerful fluctuations spread out in all directions. Zichun and Ganhai both retreated. This attack was evenly matched. Swish! Swish! After a collision, the two moved forward again, and their fists whistled through the air. Another rumbling sound rang out. Fist after fist collided, causing countless ripples to spread out in all directions. As the battle continued, Zichun's mood gradually became heavy. Compared to before, Ganhai's realm had not broken through, but his combat strength had become much stronger. He, who could easily suppress a 6-star saint spirit, was actually evenly matched with Ganhai. Although this was just a test, and Zichun hadn't used any powerful battle skills, Ganhai hadn't either. Zichun used his extreme speed to close in on Ganhai. Then, he sent a punch straight at Ganhai's forehead. Chi! The fist light vibrated, and Ganhai's body collapsed, leaving behind only an afterimage. Immediately after, Zichun felt a sense of danger from his side. He immediately dodged, but it was Ganhai's attack. Under such circumstances, the extreme speed of Holy Lightning Flash also lost its suppressive effect. Boom! The final collision between the two was accompanied by a powerful shockwave. Zichun and Ganhai were immediately sent flying backwards. As they flew backward, a holy talisman appeared in Zichun's hand. It was the Heavenly Saint Arm. After probing for so long, it was time for the real life and death battle. The holy talisman shattered, and a huge Heavenly Saint Arm appeared in the void. It clenched its fist and charged at Ganhai. The void shook. This attack was extremely powerful. Black lightning. Seeing the Heavenly Saint Arm, Ganhai snorted coldly. The power of black lightning gathered crazily in his right fist. A dazzling black lightning ball appeared on Ganhai's fist, and he punched out. Boom! The void shook again, and the Heavenly Saint Arm collapsed. The black lightning ball's power didn't diminish, and it went straight for Zichun. Seeing this, Zichun's eyes narrowed, and he unsheathed his demonic saber. A bright light illuminated the void. The saber light and the black lightning ball exploded at the same time, forming a powerful fluctuation that spread in all directions. The moment the lightning ball was destroyed, Zichun suddenly accelerated. At the same time, the power in abdomen madly gathered into the demonic saber. In the next moment, he unsheathed his saber. The dazzling saber light appeared again. This attack was equivalent to Zichun's full power. The saber light fell on Ganhai's head. Ganhai smiled disdainfully. The black lightning gathered again, and he punched out. In the powerful explosion, the saber light shattered. I originally wanted to slowly torture you to death, but now it seems that you want to die so badly. Well, I'll fulfill your wish. Ganhai smiled savagely. Now, I'll let you see a battle skill that was created specifically to kill the spirit tribe. Ganhai's aura suddenly changed. The dangerous feeling that Zichun originally felt became even more intense. And this wasn't the first time he felt this. It's the spirit extermination skill. His expression changed. He didn't expect Ganhai to have mastered such a powerful skill. In order to kill you, do you know how much I suffered? Ganhai, whose aura had become incomparably terrifying, pointed at his ugly face and said, "The reason for this is not to cover my tracks, but because of the backlash of the skill." Ganhai clenched his fist. Black lightning gathered on his fist. It was very terrifying, but in the next moment, the black lightning began to burn. Zichun's pupils suddenly shrank. The burning flames instantly increased his strong sense of danger. This is the Black Flame Thunder, a spirit extermination skill that was created specifically to kill you. Now, go to hell. Ganhai rushed towards Zichun. The burning black lightning on his fist became more and more terrifying. Looking at the charging opponent, Zichun gritted his teeth. 3 saint talismans appeared in front of him. They were the Heavenly Saint Arms. The 3 saint talismans instantly shattered. 3 Heavenly Saint Arms appeared, whistling as they rushed towards Ganhai. A mocking look flashed in Ganhai's eyes. You overestimate yourself? The burning black lightning whistled forward. The moment it met the heavenly saint arms, it was directly destroyed. 1, 2, 3. The 3 heavenly saint arms were destroyed one after another. However, the black lightning did not seem to be damaged at all. In an instant, the black lightning neared and hit Zichun's chest. Boom! The spirit extermination skill's power exploded. It was as if countless terrifying forces wanted to enter Zichun's body and destroy his life force. The spirit extermination skill was a skill that was born to counter the spirit race. Zichun's body flew backwards, coughing up blood in midair. At the critical moment, he used his arms to block the black lightning. If he had allowed the opponent to hit his chest, he would have been seriously injured even if he did not die. Looking at Zichun, who had landed on the ground, a look of surprise flashed in Gone Hai's eyes. "You're just a 4-star. How could you block my spirit extermination skill?" Zichun stabilized his body and said coldly, "I've seen spirit extermination skills before. However, it's the first time I've seen one as weak as you." Hearing Zichun's mocking, Gone Hai's face did not show any anger. Instead, there was a hint of mockery. "Is that so? Then why don't you take a look at this?"